A dark presence stands before a grave as a figure observes from the shadows, sensing something unnatural and dangerous. The being reveals itself as a manifestation of evil, its form unclear, while a silver-haired girl watches cautiously beside it. Takuto's life ends, his body sinking into darkness as his final awareness fades. After years of illness, he accepts death calmly, while his senses and consciousness dissolve into nothing. Light returns faintly as strange sensations emerge, and something unfamiliar touches him in the growing brightness. Takuto awakens seated on a stone structure within a quiet forest, sensing the rustling of leaves as awareness returns. Cool air surrounds him while he questions his surroundings. Uncertain if this place lies beyond death, a presence approaches, and he notices someone nearby, as the freshness of the air contrasts his confusion. His gaze sharpens when he recognizes unfamiliar clothing, realizing the situation feels impossible. Standing up in alarm, he faces a mysterious figure, struggling to understand the reality unfolding before him. The mysterious girl reveals herself as Ato, pledging loyalty to Takuto as her ruler within a world tied to a familiar game. Memories surface of countless hours spent mastering a strategy game, where nations were controlled and shaped through careful decisions. He recalls reaching the top ranks, achieving recognition through dedication and the strength of a single powerful unit. Returning to the present, Takuto struggles to connect the game with reality as Atu stands before him. She reassures him gently, maintaining composure, while his confusion deepens in this new world. Atu proudly declares Takuto's past as a legendary player, linking him to the powerful civilization of Ruin he once controlled. Takuto reacts with shock as she reveals knowledge of his past, unable to grasp how she understands his history. She explains calmly that she remembers everything, including their shared victories and the time they spent conquering worlds together. Her gentle expression reassures him, showing unwavering loyalty and familiarity despite the strange circumstances. Takuto reflects on his weak past, realizing his reliance on Atu shaped his choices and defined his way of playing. Atu explains she arrived without knowing how, noting the place does not resemble heaven, while addressing Takuto with quiet certainty. The surrounding forest feels familiar, resembling the world from the game, causing both of them to sense a strange connection. Takuto considers the situation a miracle yet remains unsure, realizing he now stands within an unknown world. Atu reaches out her hand, proposing they begin again together, forming something new from their shared past. She envisions building their own kingdom, while Takuto reflects on their uncertain reality, but feels drawn to the idea. Curiosity fills Takuto as he studies his body, realizing movement comes freely, and deciding to test his newfound condition. Recognition follows as he calls Atu's name, while she affirms her loyalty with steady composure. Confidence begins to form when he suggests creating a kingdom together, accepting the path ahead. With pride, Atu presents her identity and expresses her intent to stand beside him moving forward. Suddenly, a system message appears, signaling the start of a new game under Takuto's rule of Manga. A sense of embarrassment passes between them as Takuto and Atu acknowledge their situation while maintaining a growing understanding. Pride emerges as Takuto recalls his unique strategy, deciding to apply it again to lead their nation toward destruction. Excitement builds when both embrace the idea of isolation, committing fully to their unusual approach. Together, they celebrate the start of their path, despite the nation's inherent disadvantages in the wider world. Far away, a shadowed figure senses a sudden disturbance, recognizing a dangerous shift within the cursed lands. A distant figure reports an urgent matter to a higher authority, sensing a disturbance spreading across the land. Nearby, a grotesque creature suddenly forms, startling both Takuto and Atu as it emerges unexpectedly. The strange being is identified as a unit from the game, confirming that elements of the system now exist in reality. Taking control, Takuto issues a command, ordering the creature to scout the surrounding area under his authority. The unit departs rapidly, moving across the terrain while Takuto and Atu watch its swift and unsettling movement. Through the unit's vision, Takuto observes the surroundings, while Atu notes its behavior matches the game's mechanics. He reviews his mana and production limits, realizing resources are scarce and must be used carefully. Strategic thinking develops as he evaluates their strength, recognizing Atu's power, but also the risks they face. The high difficulty becomes clear reminding him that growth will require patience and careful planning. After surveying the area, Takuto concludes the forest is vast and empty, with no signs of food or creatures nearby. Takuto apologizes for their slow progress, while Atu observes the quiet forest and notes the absence of wildlife, feels unusual. He reassures her calmly, appreciating her presence as she reacts with shy relief. Joy bursts from Atu as she expresses her happiness, surprising Takuto with her sudden excitement. He reflects on her nature, realizing her role contrasts with her unexpectedly gentle side. Embarrassment follows as Atu questions him, noticing his distracted behavior, while they continue adjusting to their situation. A signal reaches Takuto as the scout unit connects, allowing him to access its vision from afar. Through the creature's sight, a forest path appears, revealing signs of life deeper within the area. Hidden figures come into view, suggesting a possible settlement as unfamiliar beings gather nearby. The discovery confirms the presence of dark elves, indicating this world follows the structure of the game. Concern rises as Takuto realizes their proximity, understanding that encountering another faction could bring immediate danger. Takuto recognizes the danger of bordering another nation, understanding it could lead to conflict beyond their control. A decision forms as he chooses observation first, planning to gather information before taking action. Sudden movement interrupts the moment, drawing attention as an unexpected presence approaches their location. Dark elves emerge from the forest, confirming the threat has arrived sooner than expected. A weary group move through a dense forest, carrying supplies and tending to the weak. Several figures struggled, while others tried to support them along the narrow path. One young elf collapsed, her body limp as others gathered around, concern spreading among the group. Their leader observed the situation, realizing their journey could not continue under such strain. Despite warnings, a determined member insisted on pressing forward, unable to abandon the path. Ahead, a dark forest loomed, hiding a sealed and dangerous presence within. The group entered the strange forest, aware of the risks, yet driven by hunger and desperation to move forward. They soon reached a ruin where a lone figure stood, while a dark shape lingered nearby, unsettling everyone present. The shadow revealed itself as something unnatural, causing fear as its presence spread through the area. One among them realized the weight of the moment, knowing their decision could affect their entire kind. With caution, they advanced, preparing to act carefully in the face of the unknown threat. The captain stepped forward and introduced himself, facing the dark elf while the shadow remained still behind her. He lowered himself in apology, acknowledging their intrusion and showing respect despite the danger surrounding them. The dark elf studied him closely, recognizing both his awareness and the connection between her and the shadow. Her patience thinned, demanding a clear explanation as tension rose between both sides. Under pressure, he revealed their exile and desperation, while the shadow showed no interest, watching silently. The shadow suddenly spoke, shocking the group, as its presence became even more unnatural and unsettling. The captain struggled to maintain composure, while the dark elf reacted with brief surprise before regaining control. He admitted their flight from persecution and their failure to secure food during the journey. Exhaustion and hunger weighed heavily on them, revealing how desperate their condition had become. With no options left, they bowed deeply, pleading for mercy, as the shadow quietly observed. The group questioned their suffering, unable to understand why they were punished, despite seeking only peace. A silent thought spread, wondering if survival itself had become a sin in this harsh world. Suddenly, something appeared before them, catching the captain's attention as he moved closer. The shadow offered a strange fruit, presenting it without hostility as the others watched carefully. The captain examined it, confused by its unfamiliar form, yet sensing its nourishment and sweetness. The starving group tasted the fruit, finding it fresh and sweet, easing their exhaustion. More fruits appeared, surprising them, while the shadow continued offering food without hesitation. The captain hesitated, realizing others needed it more despite his own hunger. He revealed that children among them were starving, his urgency breaking through his restraint. Lowering himself again, he asked that the food be given to the weak, as the group's strength continued to fade. The shadow watched silently as the plea was made, its presence calm, while the dark elf remained observant beside it. Nearby, the group rested weakly, with a caretaker holding a child and trying to keep them calm as exhaustion spread. Suddenly, concern rose when a child lost strength, causing urgency among the survivors. The captain quickly prepared food, urging others to eat and regain energy, despite the tension. Gradually, nourishment reached them, and the weakened group began recovering as hope quietly returned. The group expressed gratitude as they regained strength, eating eagerly after enduring long hunger. Energy returned, and the camp grew lively, with many sharing food and recovering together. As night fell, they rested peacefully, believing their hardship had finally ended. Some continued to offer thanks, unaware of any hidden consequence behind the aid they received. However, suspicion arose as one warned that such generosity from a dark presence could never come without a cost. The captain argued in frustration, defending his actions after accepting help from the shadow. Around them, the group slept peacefully, their hunger eased despite the uneasy source of their relief. Still, doubt weighed on him, as he questioned whether another path could have been chosen. Tension rose as his decision was challenged, highlighting the cost of relying on such power. A black-haired young man, Takuto, revealed his intent, having acted out of concern for their survival. Takuto appeared before them, showing concern as he faced the exhausted group and assessed their condition. He extended his power, creating more food, drawing attention from those nearby as they watched in surprise. Supplies rapidly increased, allowing enough food for everyone, and the group responded with relief and gratitude. Afterward, Takuto reflected quietly, sensing something unusual about the situation while others gathered around him. Atu showed frustration, turning away while Takuto tried to approach her carefully. He explained his intention to seek her help, reflecting on the way he had used his power earlier. Acknowledging his mistake, Takuto accepted responsibility. Realizing his actions had caused concern, he continued explaining his limits, thinking about how to manage resources more carefully moving forward. Atu reacted with surprise, then began to understand his reasoning, and recognized his role as a leader among the Dark Elves. Takuto reflected on his difficulty communicating, recognizing a flaw in how he expressed himself to others. Atu reacted strongly, realizing his unusual behavior and understanding the reason behind his distant manner. While they considered their situation, a strange creature appeared, drawing attention as Takuto remained calm. He planned to send the group away soon, knowing the Dark Elves were approaching and a meeting was inevitable. Atu stepped forward with confidence, preparing a solution as she decided to handle the situation herself. The elder approached respectfully, bowing as he acknowledged the chance to stand before Takuto. He introduced himself as the leader of his people, presenting his identity with humility while the others observed. Taking responsibility, he admitted the fault of his kin and sought to correct their actions. Gratitude followed, as he recognized the aid given and the value it brought to his struggling group. With deep respect, he lowered himself again, requesting to know the name of the one who had helped them. Takuto hesitated briefly, unsure how to present himself as attention turned toward him. Atu stepped forward and declared his title, elevating his status before the gathered Dark Elves. Hearing this, the elder bowed deeply, pledging that their clan would remember both Takuto and Atu with loyalty. Relief spread as the situation settled, and both sides recognized that the encounter had ended peacefully. With matters concluded, Atu urged the group to take the remaining food and leave before it spoiled. The elder hesitated, seeking a way to repay the aid, while Atu demanded something worthy of Takuto. Takuto tried to refuse, but confusion grew as the situation shifted beyond his control. Tension rose when Atu pressed further, while Takuto attempted to keep the meeting calm and peaceful. The atmosphere grew strained, and Takuto realized the situation was becoming difficult to manage. Despite this, he continued thinking carefully, determined to resolve the matter without causing conflict. Atu grew irritated, criticizing the situation, while Takuto tried to stay calm and think clearly. He proposed a balanced approach, hoping both sides could benefit and avoid further conflict. Observing the exhausted group, he realized they had no strength left and needed stability rather than tension. Atu warned that careless actions would increase suspicion, reminding him of their position. Finally, Takuto decided to offer something in return, aiming to secure trust and conclude the matter peacefully. Atu took control of the discussion, correcting the misunderstanding and asserting Takuto's position firmly. She declared a condition for the aid, turning the exchange into a structured agreement. The group accepted, agreeing to provide knowledge in return while Takuto quietly followed the flow. With terms settled, the elder showed obedience, and the agreement between both sides was confirmed. Takuto reflected on the situation, recognizing potential future conflict and the need to manage different groups carefully. He considered the nature of the forest, realizing it would not suit the Dark Elves, despite their neutral stance. He thought about his goal to build a nation, recognizing their presence could become a future problem. The elder requested permission to remain, while Atu firmly opposed the idea and urged them to leave. Seeing their exhaustion, Takuto hesitated, understanding the consequences of both choices. In the end, the elder prepared to withdraw, expressing gratitude. As the meeting reached its conclusion, Takuto reflected on his past and current power, then resolved to act. After observing the group's condition, he made a sudden proposal, offering them a place under his rule, surprising everyone present. Atu reacted quickly, questioning the idea while Takuto explained his reasoning behind changing their alignment. He considered the risks and reminded her of the nature of his domain and its unusual traits. The reality of his world became clear, showing the harsh form his people might take under his rule. Atu acknowledged Takuto's interest while he admitted the difficulty of communicating and understanding others. She conveyed his offer to the Dark Elves, explaining protection and the plan to build a nation if they joined him. The elder questioned the outcome, carefully considering what becoming citizens would truly mean for his people. Atu clarified the cost, revealing they would need to accept a darker nature to live under Takuto's rule. Time passed, and Takuto continued forward, prepared to carry out his decision with quiet resolve. Takuto considered accepting them, believing their value could be proven if given a chance. He explained the benefits, noting their weaknesses could be offset by other strengths within his system. Together with Atu, he advanced toward their camp, preparing to face them directly. The Dark Elves noticed their approach, tension rising as they braced for what would follow. Upon arrival, Takuto stood before them, while some avoided looking at him, fearing the strange power surrounding his presence. Takuto formally accepted the Dark Elves, declaring them part of his nation as they bowed before him. The group gathered below, acknowledging his authority, while Atu stood beside him, overseeing the moment. With their acceptance, a new nation was established, and Takuto embraced his role as its leader, guiding his people forward. Atu welcomed the Dark Elves as full citizens of Manhwa. A ceremonial vow followed. Peace and protection were promised, but something shifted in Jia's eyes. A silent conflict stirred within. Images of the past shattered Jia's calm. The pain, the cruelty, the humiliation, they all returned. Hatred boiled beneath the surface. The words of peace only deepened his inner unrest. Memories overwhelmed him. He remembered every insult, every wound. A storm of hate flooded his thoughts. As his body trembled, Takuto's voice cut through the dark. "Are you okay?" Jia raised his voice in loyalty. The Dark Elves cheered Takuto's name. Joy filled the camp. Yet beneath the celebration, Jia questioned what being protected by evil truly meant. Days passed. Takuto reviewed documents, steadily guiding Manhwa's growth. He confirmed his decisions with quiet confidence. With each passing moment, their new nation edged closer to becoming something real. Takuto learned the harsh truth: both superpowers nearby were good aligned. Atu welcomed a new contact, cheerful as always. Takuto collapsed in frustration. The world they faced was anything but balanced. Atu panicked: no food, no mana, no resources. The forest productivity was zero. Takuto analyzed the situation. Without development, survival would be impossible. They were now playing on nightmare difficulty. Moltar visited again, this time with Amaru, his subordinate. She was knowledgeable, skilled in intelligence gathering. Their support came with hope for cooperation, but the crisis had only just begun. Amaru greeted the king politely. Takuto's shadow loomed silently. Moltar advised against over-formality. Takuto preferred it simple, yet all understood the weight of leadership was real, even when words were few. Atu announced their next phase. Each Dark Elf would be given a role in the new administration. Takuto's quiet authority now shaped the future structure of Manhwa's leadership. Jia was appointed as captain of the warriors. Moltar would assist with national management. The king's decisions were absolute. Loyalty surged as each leader accepted their duty without hesitation. Jia pledged unwavering obedience. Rage burned beneath his vow. He would lead with fury, slaughter enemies, and avenge past wounds. For him, the king's will justified even the darkest means. Takuto's silent aura unsettled the elves. They misunderstood his intentions. Atu clarified Takuto wasn't aiming to destroy the world directly. His path would reshape it through peace, not war. Confusion spread. A pacifist king ruling a nation of ruin? The contrast baffled many. But Takuto's will was firm. War was brutal. Peace would be their method of change. Plans began quietly. Housing and food took priority. Moltar pledged practical support, offering skills beyond strength. Minogra's foundation rested on unexpected unity between rage-filled warriors and a king who sought peace. Takuto watched the Dark Elves work tirelessly. He wanted to give them a break but also needed progress. He began considering tasks that matched their strengths without breaking morale. Atu suggested terrain improvement. Takuto agreed, emphasizing minimal forest destruction. The goal was balanced development without ruin. Moltar noted their alignment with darkness. Even so, respect for nature remained important. Gia was stunned. A king of ruin who preferred trees over barren land? Yet orders were orders. Reforestation would begin, and with it, a new approach to strength through care. Takuto and Atu were surprised. The Dark Elves didn't even understand reforestation. Even Moltar looked confused. Their knowledge of basic environmental and magical principles was far more limited than expected. Atu questioned Emuru about military magic. She admitted they only used magic for support, not in warfare. Their magical framework lacked advanced application. The gap in magical development was alarming. Takuto reassessed. Their world's magical level was lower than he assumed. But if Managra developed faster, it could gain a powerful lead. Atu pulled them back time to replant trees. Moltar doubted the speed of magical agriculture. Atu insisted reforestation tech worked faster with elements. She credited everything to Ira Takuto, proclaiming his wisdom as the cornerstone of their civilization. Atu praised Takuto endlessly, calling him a godlike genius. Takuto froze under pressure. The elves looked stunned, unsure how to respond. Atu kept smiling, truth or bluff. It didn't matter. To justify her claims, Atu explained germ theory in dramatic detail. She traced plagues to microbes, shocking her audience. The elves stared, overwhelmed. Atu turned science into divine revelation. Atu continued declaring Takuto's brilliance, even in disease control. Takuto stayed silent, stomach aching from pressure. The others accepted the knowledge, unaware it came from another world, not divine origin. Emuru mentioned planting seeds from the apple. Takuto had summoned. Excited by the sprouting bud, she saw it as a gift. Takuto smiled, but something felt off in his gut. Everyone panicked. Emuru had planted divine fruit without permission. Takuto was stunned. The emergency item wasn't meant for cultivation. If it came from the gods, its growth could trigger unexpected consequences. Takuto considered the emergency item system. What if it only generated resources from his previous world? If true, he could eventually recreate modern materials provided he built the needed infrastructure. With enough development, he realized he could mass-produce things like oil resources that shaped entire civilizations. It was possible. He had already created one. The potential felt limitless and terrifying. Atu and Emuru exchanged awkward smiles. Emuru worried she acted rashly. Takuto praised her effort. Atu dismissed it as luck. Still, Takuto grinned. His plan might just be working. The continent of Idaragya was divided: lawful north, dark south. Humans and elves ruled above. Amid rising diplomacy, one force quietly grew in power: Manogra, and the saints they would soon face. Saint Solina stood in holy splendor, judge of corruption. Her beauty veiled power. As people begged for mercy, she invoked divine wrath. In her hands, justice meant splendid destruction. Without mercy, Solina unleashed devastation. Waves of divine force engulfed the sinners. Death came not as punishment, but ritual. The world would soon learn what a saint could truly do. Tensions grew in the Holy Kingdom. Solina, determined and divine, challenged the church's hesitation. If soldiers wouldn't act, she would go alone. Her mission, to investigate the cursed lands herself. The cardinal hesitated, questioning her motives and authority. Solina responded with conviction. While politics stifled others, her heart burned to save souls lost to corruption regardless of divine or human cost. Far from the sanctity of temples, Managra stirred. Atu rallied the people. Construction began. Takuto's kingdom, founded in ruin and ambition, started its climb, aiming to seize fate and shape the world. Weeks passed since the Dark Elves became citizens. Gia observed the progress with pride. Takuto now sat on a proper throne, casting aside his old robes and embracing kingship fully. Takuto realized happiness fueled progress. The more content his people were, the more mana the nation gained. Their joy was not just virtue, it was a resource for national strength. Atu opened the council with a key topic: food supply. Even peace required strength. The nation could produce items magically, but solving hunger long-term meant building a stable foundation first. Atu presented a new food source, the flesh tree. Shock followed. It mimicked human meat. Though unsettling, it promised sustainability. With careful planning, it could feed the growing nation. Reactions were mixed. Moltar remained skeptical but agreed to test it. The system confirmed construction. Takuto approved, knowing compromise was key even when progress came in the shape of twisted innovation. With food addressed, attention turned to research. Atu asked which field to prioritize. Moltar offered insights, but Takuto and Atu had no doubt the foundation of Managra's rise would be magic. Magic research officially began. Atu explained the potential of military magic, devastating and wide-reaching. Unlike regular spells, it could overwhelm armies. Takuto approved. Their next strength would be born from power. With magic research underway, Takuto turned to military planning. He proposed something bold, creating a hero. Atu lit up. The idea came with risks, but it could turn the tide. They discussed summoning monsters and heroes. Power came at a cost: mana, upkeep, exposure. Only one could be summoned now. Takuto chose caution: delay, prepare, and strike when the moment's right. Moltar questioned hero strength. Takuto explained the broader threat: bounty hunters hunting dark elves. A hero could deter them, protect citizens, and solve multiple issues with a single overwhelming presence. To demonstrate, Atu led them to the forest. She offered proof instead of argument. Her calm steps concealed the immense power she was about to unleash before their eyes. Dark tendrils erupted from Atu. She revealed the truth: she herself was a hero. The forest trembled under her energy, and this, she said, wasn't even close to her limit. Atu proudly declared she'd handle all threats. Her overwhelming power left the others in awe. Takuto, meanwhile, reminded everyone to clean the forest. Governance required balance, not just brute strength. Embarrassed by the mess, Atu sulked. The others joined in to help. Through shared effort, camaraderie deepened. Takuto watched quietly, knowing this bond would soon be the heart of Managra. 1 month later, the Dark Elves had implemented Takuto's plans. As he overlooked the thriving forest village, Takuto felt pride. Their dream was no longer vision, it was becoming real. Takuto and Atu inspected the growing village. Homes rose beside cultivated flesh trees. Facilities for storage and farming expanded. The foundation for a functioning nation was no longer just blueprints. Water plans were in place. Even a public office had emerged. Takuto admired Amuru's initiative. He visualized the future streamlined, stable, and minimal for now. Every step counted. Takuto reflected proudly. Their dark elf allies worked joyfully. Internal, military, and research development progressed. Amuru felt grateful. Once hunted, now they thrived because one king gave them a new beginning. Takuto watched his people thrive and smiled. He expressed pride in their efforts. For the first time, they saw not just a king, but someone genuinely proud to rule. Atu teared up at Takuto's praise. Yet resources remained tight. Daily needs, housing, manpower. They still lacked much. Takuto reassured them. No palace was needed. Unity mattered more than display. Moltar unexpectedly appeared, shocked by talk of a shared royal room. Takuto joked about building a floating castle. Even grand dreams, for now, were softened with laughter and togetherness. Moltar and Amuru were awestruck by Takuto's vision. Though they couldn't grasp his ambitions, they obeyed with devotion. With a renewed vow, the citizens pledged loyalty to their wise king. In the Holy Kingdom of Qualia, holy knights served with sword and scripture. Trusted by the people, they stood second only to saints, protecting both faith and law. The church dispatched a formal expedition. 2 holy knights and a company of mercenaries journeyed to investigate the cursed lands, following visions received by the devout Saint Solina. Low-ranking knight Lornias rushed to meet high-ranking Verdel. The mission felt unusual. Even Verdel, cynical and blunt, suspected that this assignment meant far more than a mere inspection. The expedition advanced slowly. Short on formal troops, Lornias filled ranks with mercenaries. Though Verdel mocked him, the risk was real. Their enemies were unknown, and precautions were necessary. Verdel's arrogance irritated the soldiers. Lornias noted the political undertone. If failure came, blame would fall on him, not Verdel. Even faith had its hierarchy of sacrifice. As mercenaries trudged forward, they discussed the danger. Rumors swirled of unrest up north. Still, it was work and they knew. Well, survival wasn't guaranteed in jobs like this. The mercenaries advanced, unaware of the deeper threat. Rumors of witches reached Lornias, stirring unease. The term struck a chord. Unnatural forces were moving, hidden beneath layers of political orders. In Managra, production thrived. Flesh trees fed the growing population. Administration stabilized. Construction advanced efficiently. The nation, once desperate, now stood strong, but its forest changed faster than anyone expected. An inspection revealed strange growth overtaking the land. Trees pulsed with a life that felt wrong. Shapes twisted in silence. Those who watched the forest began to feel watched themselves. Manhwa's land transformed into cursed soil, empowered by its king. Those who became citizens gradually shifted alignment, their surroundings influenced. The change was subtle, but it reshaped both earth and people. An elf examined the cursed land. At first, no effects were felt. But realization struck. Flesh fruits no longer felt repulsive. The corruption spread quietly, masked as acceptance and comfort. While the air remained calm, the environment reeked of quiet power. Two dark elves acknowledged the unease. Even without intent, transformation was already unfolding. Within them and across the cursed forest, the final outpost offered warmth and drink. For many, it was a last comfort. They spoke lightly, but each knew beyond this point. Safety ended and the cursed lands awaited. As they dined, tension surfaced. Provisions ran thin. Roads grew scarce. Even faith clashed, ritual versus reason. Yet amidst debate and laughter, they masked dread with brotherhood and fleeting normalcy. Thoughts returned to prophecy. Whispers of the cursed land stirred unease. Something ancient moved in the dark. Verdel listened closely, sensing fate creeping steadily toward their uncertain path. Bargo was summoned urgently. Rumors swirled a witch had stirred chaos in the north. Even the intelligence networks failed to grasp the scale. He knew this wasn't ordinary trouble. The witch's power confused even seasoned mercenaries. Some dismissed it as myth, others feared the worst. Bargo listened. Reports vanished, contacts lost. A dark force moved, cloaked in mystery. Dark elves fled toward the cursed lands. Bargo sensed a convergence in omen. He vowed to investigate. Though confident, unease gripped him. This witch might reshape the world's balance entirely. Rumors spread of dark elves exiled from Elnar, practicing heresy and curses. A named witch walked among them. Bargo remembered facing one Moltar, a deadly assassin now stirring from shadows. He foresaw disaster if those forces combined. Bargo planned quiet surveillance, but Lorna stood firm. Refusing retreat, the knight believed resisting evil was righteous, even when escape seemed the safer path. Among the weary and displaced, Lorna saw meaning. Bargo's burden lightened. For the first time, he believed in something more than orders, a reason to protect, a reason to keep going. Bargo urged the knights to see beyond impulse and glory. The younger ones, still idealistic, struggled between duty and dreams. A quiet blessing marked their next move into a perilous unknown. They encountered a towering native broad, armored in scars, wielding silence like a weapon. A hill giant of the dark continent. Eyes locked. Muscles tensed. Nature itself warned of war. As the knights hesitated, Verdel stepped forward. Calm and unshaken, he claimed the burden alone. No diversions, no hesitation. In his silent stride, the others saw the weight of resolve. The cursed land stretched endlessly ahead. With limited time and manpower, Lornius led a revised route through the north. Efficiency mattered, but none expected what lay hidden within the trees. Verdel halted. Something stirred in the woods, too silent, too precise. The knights froze, instincts sharpened. Without a word, they drew closer, step by step, toward the unknown waiting in shadow. A lone figure emerged, hooded, still, small, not beast nor soldier. Verdel gripped his blade. Lornius whispered his thoughts. A girl, perhaps, but in this cursed land, appearances meant nothing. They approached cautiously. Lornius judged the girl clearly, a dark elf, alone. She stood calm among trees, neither fleeing nor attacking. Her presence raised more questions than any of them expected. She claimed to be a refugee, exiled from her homeland. The knights questioned her intent. Her voice remained measured. Verdel demanded answers. In return, she offered a plea, not threat. She warned them. The forest was her sanctuary, this cursed land, her only refuge. Holy or not, she rejected their intrusion. Her words carried quiet defiance enough to make them pause. Tension broke. Voices clashed, command overridden by conscience. The knights stood divided. A reprimand silenced dissent, but unrest stirred. The dark elf knelt, pleading not just for herself, but for many. Verdel pressed further, fixated on secrecy. Why protect this forest? What hid beneath its calm? She answered cryptically, peace, sanctuary. But duty weighed heavy, and unfinished orders demanded resolution. Frustration exploded. Accusations flew. A forbidden truth, the oracle was revealed. Shock rippled through the group. Trust fractured. Mission integrity wavered. The cursed land had done nothing. yet was already unraveling them. Tension rose. The elf warned of disaster, yet offered no threat. Her calm unnerved them. A sacred mission had been exposed. Lornis realized the risk of every word spoken. Verdel sensed something was off, not fear but power veiled in gentleness. Her confidence, unnatural. Her oath, unsettling. If not a dark elf, then what exactly were they facing? Lornius turned away. He believed the girl's words. Her intent felt honest. The others protested, fearing deception. Trust and doctrine clashed. Still, Lornius chose to return, alone if needed. Verdel argued back. Peace, he said, must be earned, not assumed. Suspicion rose. Accusations followed. Talk of past tragedies surfaced, rumors, fear, and duty entangled. The knights stood divided. The girl begged for understanding. Her voice remained steady. Yet the group fractured further. Some saw evil. Some saw truth. In the silence that followed, judgment loomed over reason. An eye reflected the dark elf's presence. Tension broke. One knight acted, shouting, accusing, moving to capture her. Another cried out. Orders were ignored. The situation spiraled beyond control. She stood still. Then blood spilled. One stroke changed everything. The knight fell. Chaos followed. The forest, once silent, now echoed with failure. A single action shattered any chance of peace. The messenger lay wounded. The group faltered. Amid confusion, Lornius rose bruised but alive. The cost of doubt had become clear. What began as a mission now balanced on survival. From the shadows a new figure emerged. Powerful, composed. Tentacles of darkness struck down the knights without hesitation. The girl was no ordinary survivor. She had summoned something monstrous. Confusion exploded. Some called her a witch, others panicked. The curse had taken form. This was no misunderstanding, this was a being tied to destruction, far beyond their comprehension. The knights rallied, swords raised. They prayed for strength. But faith could not undo what was unleashed. The enemy judged them already. What began as justice had become irreversible ruin. The knights gave the order. Arrows flew, weapons clashed. She smiled, calm, unfazed. As darkness shielded her, the battlefield grew quiet, not from peace, but from disbelief at her power. The prophecy returned to mind. A third witch, confirmed by chaos in the north. Two were known. Now, before them, stood the likely third. Disaster had taken a name. Verdel stood frozen, tentacles regenerated. Her calm words revealed more horror. She had not used her full power. What they fought was only a portion. Fear began to take hold. Panic spread fast. Mercenaries ran. Knights faltered. Orders were drowned by screams. With every second, the battle turned from mission to massacre. The cursed land had chosen its response. Lornius moved to block her path. She targeted the fleeing, his blade raised in desperation, not strategy. The line between faith and fear disappeared. He could not let her pass. Lornius clashed with her. Sparks flew. He prayed for strength, but she countered effortlessly. A holy sword should have turned the tide, but in her hands it became something worse. She revealed the truth. The sword was not stolen, but claimed along with its owner's skill. His death, his devotion, absorbed and used. Her power fed on everything they lost. She mocked them with calm cruelty. Verdel's name, his honor, now hers to command. Their failure wasn't just loss, it was fuel. Each mistake strengthened the very force they opposed. Lornius realized the truth. The witch grew stronger by killing, absorbing memories, skills, even identities. She knew Verdel's family. His pain became hers. Power built not from magic, but from loss. The realization struck hard. Those who died fed her strength. Verdel's thoughts, emotions, and past now lived within her. She twisted them into weapons, mocking the value of every life taken. Lornius stood alone, surrounded only by silence and shadows. The survivors had fled. His strength faltered, but the weight of truth remained. The war was never about land, it was memory. The battlefield fell silent. All mercenaries were wiped out. Verdel's warnings came too late. He was among the dead. The witch stood victorious. The mission ended not in success, but ruin. Takuto completed the Palace Minogra's core stronghold. Its construction marked the beginning of true nation-building. Though peaceful now, the memory of battle lingered. Victory alone wouldn't sustain what came next. Mana flowed steadily. Plans accelerated. The Dragon's Vein Cave remained a priority. While resources advanced, human needs were left behind. Growth demanded more than power, it needed stability, people, and purpose. Iru panicked. Amid strategy and expansion, no one cared for Takuto directly. As ruler, he stood alone. She realized they had power, but no one to support his daily life. Atu insisted that Takuto should not live without support. Though Takuto claimed he could manage, she argued that a ruler's image and well-being shaped the nation's heart and future. Takuto reflected on his awkwardness. He still struggled to speak freely. Even with allies, he wanted to be approachable, friendly, a king people could trust, not just obey. Atu took action. With absolute confidence, she issued a command. The kingdom's elite moved swiftly. Her goal, fulfill Takuto's wish. Her method, gather little girls for companionship and support. Takuto panicked. Atu's plans spiraled fast. Her logic was simple, girls were easier to talk to. She rallied support quickly. Takuto couldn't stop it even if he tried. The proposal gained momentum. Elders approved. Girls from the tribe volunteered. Takuto gave in, hoping it would help his growth. Secretly, he vowed to use it to overcome his weakness. The interviews began. Takuto stayed silent, but every child cried. He hadn't spoken, hadn't moved. Confused and embarrassed, he realized diplomacy required more than strategy. It demanded trust, warmth, and presence. The children cried. None could face Takuto calmly. Elders mocked the weakness, questioning the plan, but two remained quiet, steady. Moltar and Gia debated whether they should be brought forward. The twins entered. No tears, no fear. Though not of noble blood, they carried themselves with quiet strength. One cheerful, one solemn, they stepped forward to face the king directly. Introducing themselves confidently, they impressed all. For once, Takuto felt hopeful. Two children stood without crying. Atu declared it a pass. The long search for suitable retainers had begun. Carrie's scars drew concern. Moltar explained disease had left its mark. But for her, the scars were more than illness. They were a burden she accepted for her sister's survival. She confessed the truth, she had eaten her mother to survive. No one expected such honesty, yet no one condemned her. Survival had forced choices too cruel for childhood. Their tribe honored sacrifice. Carrie's actions, though grim, were born from love. Takuto understood then the world demanded strength, but also compassion. These girls had already faced trials greater than most. Judgment shifted. Scars, past suffering, and doubts no longer mattered. What stood out was the courage to face forward. Takuto's acceptance gave them strength. Their journey as retainers had begun. Takuto approached gently. To everyone's surprise, he spoke with ease. He asked Mary to care for him, his first direct request. She accepted, smiling with purpose and warmth. Carrie followed. Though younger, she took on the role with equal resolve. Their simple words marked a turning point. Takuto finally found voices that responded not with fear, but trust. The king gave his blessing. From that day, Mary and Carrie were named official caretakers. For the first time, Takuto felt surrounded not by subjects, but by people who believed in him. Despite repeated mishaps, Takuto never scolded them. The girls tried earnestly, and he understood their efforts. Their innocence, though flawed, brought warmth. He accepted them not as tools, but as people. She looked up with basket on her hand, and she wondered, even though he was an evil, and wonder why he did not kill them all. He should be a bad person, but he is not the ones like in movies and so on. Carrie and Mary feared judgment. They admitted their sins, believing they had no right to forgiveness. Their words revealed shame, not pride. They awaited Takuto's decision with quiet resolve. Takuto listened carefully. They pleaded for punishment, certain their past made them unworthy. Yet he saw the truth. They were shaped by sacrifice, not evil. He chose compassion over condemnation. Takuto smiled gently. He understood their pain and refused to strike them down. Mercy, not wrath, defined his rule. The girls wept silently, not from fear, but from unexpected kindness. Takuto explained his view of evil not as cruelty, but as the freedom to choose. True evil, he said, was doing what one believes in without restraint, good or bad. He asked them to live on. Their mother had made the hardest choice to protect them. Now they were to survive, to honor her by continuing forward with pride. Takuto welcomed them fully, not as victims nor sinners, but as citizens. At last, Mary, Carrie, and their king shared a peaceful moment. The bond had finally taken root. She looks with annoyed expression as he, looking him sitting on the throne, absolutely did not impressed at all. Takuto was briefed on alliance prospects. Atu reported on Dragonant, a remote city run by shamans. Despite its location, the city's role in mana production made it strategically valuable. They discussed its potential. A multicultural society with diplomatic possibilities, Dragonant also housed the Dragon Veins Cave. Takuto saw beyond distance resources and knowledge were worth the risk of contact. Forngon, a vast land where spirits thrive, lived in uneasy peace. Though multiracial harmony prevailed, threats from beyond loomed. The country's warriors readied, uncertain when distant conflicts would reach home. Without warning, a monstrous hill giant struck. Its raw strength overwhelmed soldiers, crushing the front line. Panic surged. One yelled, "Another hill giant!" Orders flew to alert the elders. Fear gripped all. Citizens watched in dread. Walls unfinished, escape impossible. "Why does it attack now?" cried one. The giant charged forward, unstoppable. If it breached the earthworks, the city's end was certain. The giant's rampage crushed resistance. Weary soldiers faltered, overwhelmed. Panic surged as even the strongest strikes failed. Hope dwindled fast. A decision was made: summon the one who could turn fate. A sudden surge of magic struck. Vines erupted from the earth, binding the giant mid-charge. Surprise flashed across every face. Ancient power had awakened. Authority once forgotten, now revealed. A lone figure stood atop the battlefield, calm and resolute. Soldiers turned, watching the staff-bearer descend. Her power unquestioned, her presence firm. Their savior had arrived, hope had returned. With power rising, the staff-bearer struck again. The ground warped, vines surged. The giant howled, thrashing wildly. Elders watched in awe. Magic and might clashed in a desperate standoff. Reinforcements seized the moment. Blinded and bound, the giant faltered. Warriors charged. One leader gave the signal: now is the time. Arrows flew. The beast groaned. Their final strike approached. Victory came. The threat subdued, relief spread. Elders reflected on lost strength, grateful for successors. The village exhaled. Forngon endured, saved by courage, unity, and a legacy unwilling to fade. With the crisis over, humor returned. Elders traded banter as the young prodigy stood tall. Though lighthearted, concern lingered. Pepe's sudden rise marked a shift. The old ways were fading. The council gathered beneath shaded roofs. Plans formed swiftly. Pepe and Tonacapoli were tasked to depart. Whispers of unease stirred. Superhuman foes and future wars weighed heavy on their thoughts. Warnings were shared. The cursed land stirred. A prophecy, unearthed by divination, revealed calamity on the horizon. Though laughter lingered, the shadow of coming ruin quietly began to spread. Plans solidified beneath tense silence. The great cursed land unknown, deadly beckoned. Sending their strongest was a gamble. Failure meant national collapse. Both understood this mission could cost their lives and more. With resolve unshaken, they prepared for the journey. Though risks loomed, confidence steeled their hearts. Yet a twist emerged. Pepe insisted on joining. A trio now walked toward the unknown. The dragon vein cave pulsed with Earth's mana, its value immense. Abandoning it was unthinkable. They departed with strategy and hope, determined to preserve power and protect the nation's lifeline. They reached the city, not as reinforcements but as seekers of salvation. Ahead lay the cursed land, but nothing prepared them for what stood waiting, elegant, powerful, and unknown. An elven woman appeared, beautiful, enigmatic. Tension thickened. Beastmen sensed danger. Her group radiated ominous power. Tonacapoli stepped forward, alert, allies or threats. One thing was clear: they weren't human. Eyes narrowed, instincts flared. Hostility brewed, yet the dark elves made no move. Commands restrained retaliation. Uncertainty lingered. Could these beings be reasoned with, or was conflict inevitable? The leader raised her hand gently. Silence fell. Her voice cut through the tension, calm but commanding. All eyes fixed on her. The moment balanced between diplomacy and disaster. Pepe greeted the dark elves with cheerful confidence. Her openness clashed with the tense mood. Curious eyes watched. The youngest among them stepped forward, unknowingly diffusing rising tensions. Pepe's playful challenge surprised even allies. The elf leader remained composed, intrigued yet cautious. Intentions were weighed in silence. Diplomacy emerged, delicately bridging two powers in a fragile moment. Talks eased the standoff. Apologies exchanged, motives clarified. An audience with the king was granted. But deep within the stronghold, a dark presence stirred, silent, watching, waiting for intrusion. Faced with a terrifying presence, the truth was clear: it was an evil god. Yet Pepe stepped forward, fearless, reaching out with joy. Shock spread. The god's aura thickened. Pepe's cheerful plea turned fear into farce. The evil god accepted her offer of friendship. Applause erupted. Even hardened warriors stood baffled. What began as dread now felt ridiculous. After a tense journey, diplomacy succeeded. Representatives of Minagra and Forngon shared the table. Smiles masked caution. A fragile alliance was born when built on survival, magic, and mutual threat. Atu praised the effort. Managra's core leaders gathered, each holding power, each remembering past hardship. The king's approval followed. Joy stirred, but no one forgot what dangers still loomed ahead. Takuto reflected on early tensions with Forngon. Now peace offered room to grow. With threats quiet and neighbors calm, Managra set its sights on expansion. Power must rise before enemies return. A powerful ritual secured the alliance. Atu led negotiations flawlessly. Terms were locked: shared control of the Dragon Vein Cave, united resistance against barbarians, and mutual trade. Strategy now ruled peace. Food from Managra delighted the delegates. Investigation updates confirmed barbarian aggression. Atu eyed the battlefield, each unit a stepping stone to power. A plan was forming beneath her calm command. The war table fell silent. Eyes turned to the next issue. Tension lingered. The path forward was dangerous, but the pact held for now. Questions hung in the air unspoken. Confusion stirred. Managra's members realized they knew little about Forngon. Their alliance was built on guesswork. Curiosity turned urgent. What was this nation they'd tied their fate to? Maps and fragments of knowledge were reviewed. Gaps emerged. A diplomatic blind spot was now clear. If war returned, ignorance could cost them. A decision was needed fast. Plans shifted. Dragonotan intelligence would take priority. Trade could wait. A second envoy would be dispatched. Peace depended on knowing their allies and what truly threatened them from the shadows. The threat of sudden barbarian attacks grew. With uncertainty rising, Atu's deployment was questioned. Would weakening their own defense in a time of crisis put the king's safety at risk? Strategy paused as debate deepened. Dispatching a hero was no simple choice. Takuto considered every risk. Each mission demanded purpose. Peace, power, and safety all hinged on careful judgment. Pepe's joyful interruption shattered the tension. She called everyone to play, drawing laughter. Even Takuto hesitated. For a moment, worries faded. Around her, the room softened into warmth. Takuto proposed a casual visit as a cover for diplomacy. The idea gained support quickly. A shared vision link meant safety. All that remained was choosing who would be sent. 2 eager volunteers stepped forward, brimming with confidence. Takuto froze, unsure whether to be proud or panicked. Trusting them with diplomacy might invite disaster, but no better options came to mind. Takuto objected. Sending young children felt reckless. But alternatives were limited. Suggestions came, rejected one by one. Each potential envoy was either too important, too risky, or politically problematic. Debate escalated. Ministers and generals were deemed unsuitable. The team needed someone with standing, but not too much. Civilians lacked weight. The search narrowed. Expectations fell on unlikely candidates. Atu stood up, ready to volunteer. She invoked the king's trust. Though deemed too high-ranking, none could challenge her resolve. Her decision shifted the room. Duty now overruled hesitation. Takuto hesitated, but the girls insisted. Their desire to serve outweighed fear. They begged for trust, pledging loyalty even in danger. Moved by conviction, the king gave his reluctant consent. Cheers followed Takuto's decision. Atu, fuming, couldn't hide her jealousy. As plans shifted to escorts, Moltar quietly excused himself, his concern not for tactics, but something deeper regarding Lady Pepe. Moltar voiced quiet doubts. Could a nation led by one like Pepe be trusted? Yet others saw resolve and control. Behind smiles and chaos, trust began to cautiously form. Takuto reflected on Pepe's eccentric behavior. Despite her chaos, he sensed sincerity beneath the surface. With quiet support from Moltar, he affirmed her mission. Doubts remained, but trust took root. The group toured a new medical facility, built to heal and support troops. It symbolized progress. Spirits lifted. For a moment, war and politics faded behind plans for recovery. As discussion turned to research, tension returned. Atu's mood had soured. Takuto, realizing her hurt, blushed while expressing gratitude. Their bond, tested by duty, found quiet strength in shared words. Pepe and her partner approached their assigned escort's quarters with uncertainty. The figure waiting masked and looming was unlike anything expected. Their mission hadn't even begun, yet already felt surreal. The escort, eccentric but loyal, pledged obedience. Takuto watched as enthusiasm overwhelmed formality. His creations, once idle, now had purpose. Their unique quirks masked surprising capability, especially in service. With final orders given, the escort team was dispatched. Their task, travel to Dragonotan, observe everything, and report back. What began as a gamble was now an official mission. The masked escorts praised their assignment with dramatic flair. Observation, culture, and loyalty became their chants. Takuto remained composed, recognizing that despite oddities, their purpose had found clarity. To honor their role, Takuto gave names Ishiru, Jiru, and Sabaru. The masked beings rejoiced, declaring their devotion. Laughter echoed. A mission born from uncertainty now marched with surreal confidence. Command settled, the girls reaffirmed control. Despite quirks, the escorts swore obedience. All laughed, even as unease lingered beneath their cheers. Orders were clear. What awaited ahead remained unknown. Carrie struggled, her exhaustion clear. Though she vowed to try, doubt showed. Meanwhile, the masked escorts celebrated loudly. The mission was set, but its success felt more chaotic than secure. Mayor Anteli's Antique, overwhelmed by politics, snapped under pressure. Diplomatic tensions, barbarian threats, and endless paperwork drained her spirit. Forngon's city hall buzzed, but her patience was already gone. She reflected bitterly dreams of peace lost to chaos. Civil unrest, barbarian attacks, and now negotiations with an evil god's nation? Everything piled up. Even resignation felt like a fantasy. As complaints echoed, a knock interrupted. Dire news followed. Things were worse than feared. Unknown attackers moved in shadows. The mayor had no answers, only stress and growing dread. Antique, stressed and dismissive, tried to reject more visitors. But hearing they were VVIPs from Manhwa, she sprang into action. Reputation, survival, and diplomacy were suddenly on the line. The scene stunned her. Masked escorts and young dark elf emissaries sat confidently. Though confused, Antique offered welcome. Doubt brewed. What madness led the elders to trust such odd guests? Introductions continued. Urfel sisters spoke with charm and clarity. Antique questioned their origins and status. Whispers of their rank and connection to Manhwa's king made her reassess everything. Antique panicked. The Urfel sisters came unannounced, lacking formality. She feared hidden motives. Were these truly diplomats or something stranger? Jiru's cryptic words offered little comfort. The masked escorts explained. This visit was by Pepe's request, meant as a casual interaction, not negotiation. Still suspicious, Antique relaxed slightly. There were no demands, just an unexpected greeting. Antique accepted the explanation barely. Confused but relieved, she assigned rooms and left logistics to aides. Internally, she drew a blunt conclusion. Manhwa's king must simply adore little girls too much. To everyone's surprise, Antique eagerly agreed to guide them. Any chance to escape paperwork was welcome. The sisters accepted, unaware their diplomatic mission had just become a sightseeing tour. They began in the commercial district. Antique took pride in her city, offering commentary and jokes. Carrie, overwhelmed by Antique's confidence and physique, tried to stay focused on diplomacy. As the group toured, the conversation shifted. Observations turned to local crops and economy. Carrie asked sincerely about staple foods while others were still distracted by less official curiosities. Local cuisine sparked mixed reactions. Antique praised cacti cheese while admitting its awful taste. Talks of fermented drinks amused some. The exchange revealed culture and gaps between appearance and appetite. Spirits were mentioned. The escorts misread intent, suspecting manipulation, yet even they admitted Antique's charm. Plans for tomorrow were made, but suspicions lingered. Her motives remained unclear to the travelers. As the city slept, others starved nearby. Forgotten people whispered fears, abandonment, monsters, silence. Carrie sensed it. Beyond diplomacy and food, Forngon held a deeper, unspoken fear no one addressed. Carrie watched the suffering townsfolk and understood their pain. Poverty and unrest weighed heavily. The escorts noticed tension too. Something deeper than politics unsettled the streets beneath Forngon's quiet surface. Carrie discovered a strange plant, poppy weed. Her escorts explained its narcotic uses. Though intended for peace, its presence hinted at desperation. She sensed this flower bloomed from a hidden wound. Carrie's quiet help earned praise. Even small actions mattered. As night fell, the king's telepathic voice reached them, asking for a report. A long day ended in reflection. The group arrived at the Dragon Veins cave. Beneath barren soil lay ancient power. Though cold and desolate, the place shimmered with hidden promise and more mystery than expected. Carrie remembered her mother's words about unseen beauty and unexplored wonders. The poppy weed grew resilient, just like her and her sister. That memory anchored her heart in the freezing wind. A stranger appeared suddenly. His voice startled the group. claiming to be a merchant named Vesta Kulkin. His smile was polite, yet something behind it felt off, too smooth. Vesta offered goods and flattery, hoping to sway the delegation. He criticized the mayor's rules, hinting at profit through the poppy weed. His smile masked ambition and veiled threats. He pressed further, requesting a private meeting. His tone stayed polite, but control radiated beneath. The girls hesitated. This was no ordinary merchant. His interest in territory felt calculated. Vesta left with a map marked for sunset. The escorts took note. His words echoed with intent, and though nothing seemed urgent yet, unease settled as the city darkened. The delegation spent the day exploring Dragonautan with Antique. Laughter, warmth, and curiosity filled the air, yet as their departure neared, a familiar face returned Vesta, now requesting private time. Vesta's presence angered Antique. She demanded his exit, but he revealed more. His company was tied to Managra. Shock spread. Could the delegation have unknowingly aligned with a criminal syndicate? Antique trembled as truth hit. The Kulkin Company was a violent front, masked in trade. If it gained power, the city and maybe the region would fall under Ruin's shadow. Carrie reflected on her meeting with Vesta. What seemed innocent had darker layers. Meanwhile, city staff collapsed. Syringes were found. Antique realized the poppy trade wasn't just profit, it was poison. Chaos erupted. Addiction spread from tainted syringes. The escort debated intervention. Carrie warned if relations fractured now, war might follow. Behind her calm eyes burned a clear message. Do not test Managra. Antique resisted. Vesta smirked, offering escape through drugs. The room tensed. The delegation faced a decision: comply or resist corruption. Behind smiles, threats loomed. The next move could shift everything. Vesta ordered his men to rough up the twins but not kill them. He believed pain would force submission. Confident, cruel, he underestimated who and what stood quietly behind Carrie. Before harm could come, chaos struck. A violent counterattack began. The medic unit, known as Brain Eater, entered the fray. Silent and deadly, they didn't fight to heal, they fought to end. Managra's medics were monsters. Designed for war, their powers grew when facing humans. Controlled by an evil god, they shattered Vesta's plan. The ones meant to heal, now punished without mercy. The Brain Eaters reveled in battle. To them, flaying humans meant transcendence. Wearing flesh wasn't horror, it was evolution. Vesta's thugs thought they knew monsters until they met true perfection. Carrie stood firm, her voice calm, her intent brutal. She declared vengeance for insults to her king, her sister, and her land. Violence to her was now righteous duty. As foes begged for mercy, it was too late. Offers of gold and goods fell on deaf ears. For those who harmed her people, no deal could buy forgiveness. The attackers were overwhelmed. The Brain Eaters ripped through them, not for justice but for evolution. Give us your humanity, they roared, tearing bodies as payment for defying Managra. After the chaos, peace returned. Carrie reassured Antique that the incident had official sanction. Tension eased. Everyone pretended nothing happened, but the mayor nearly collapsed from the absurdity of it all. Laughter broke through the madness. Covered in blood, Antique lashed out verbally. The delegates teased. Peace held barely. The city remained intact, and Carrie's crew had strangely grown on its leader. Back at headquarters, leaders gathered. The twins' mission was complete. A policy meeting was called. While others planned diplomacy, something strange stirred. An ominous new chapter was quietly beginning. A new figure appeared, calm, scholarly, and sharp-eyed. Chapter 13, the Queen of All Insects, began with her silent observation. Deep underground, her presence signaled another turn in the shadows. Punishment followed. The twins knelt as ordered. Their reckless violence and misuse of authority in Dragonautan had consequences. No title or mission could excuse the terror they unleashed. Atu scolded Takuto harshly. She blamed him for the twins' unchecked behavior in Dragonautan. His relaxed oversight sparked outrage. Takuto tried to explain parenting diplomats wasn't part of his plan. Chaos hit the meeting room. Accusations flew. Atu roared. The twins cowered. Takuto sank into apology. Order was briefly restored via candy and intimidation. Yet serious diplomatic matters waited. The situation in Dragonautan was confirmed as critical. Reports matched the twins' findings. With evidence backed by the king, Managra's leaders prepared to respond this time, with greater control. EML reported troubling insights. Dragonautan's unrest ran deeper than the twins revealed. Dissatisfaction brewed beneath the surface. Managra had to act carefully or face a collapsing ally from within. Plans formed quickly. Takuto proposed helping Dark Elf immigrants resettle. With Antique's cooperation, their goodwill turned into strategy. Compassion and diplomacy would stabilize the region if executed swiftly. Talk shifted to defense. Goblins, orcs, and hill giants gathered. Their numbers swelled. A map of Dragonotan outlined the threat. The barbarians weren't stopping, and now they were moving closer. Takuto reviewed the threat. Hill giants posed serious danger, goblins and orcs less so. The city's defenders needed better vision, stronger leadership. Atu was chosen to command the response personally. Moltar volunteered to join. Atu saw it as a chance to grow. Others offered support personnel, logistics, scouts. The team assembled quickly. This mission would define their new strength. With preparations underway, Takuto gave final orders. Even civilians were organized. Everyone moved with purpose. From warriors to scholars, Managra would respond not just to survive, but to lead. Concerns arose about the defense force. To bolster their ranks, Takuto revealed a trump card, Ila, a new hero unit. Her emergence promised to change the battlefield entirely. Ila, the queen of all insects, awakened. Her powers extended beyond brute strength. She could enhance all insect-type units. A new era of Managra's biological warfare had begun. With strategy set and morale high, the nation moved swiftly. Orders were issued. Plans unfolded. In the sacred grove, preparations for Isla's official birth began with all eyes watching. The day of Isla's birth arrived. Excitement filled the air. Takuto and the others gathered materials, resources, and willpower. Finally, after much strain, the long-awaited insect queen would awaken. Unlike other units, Isla was special, meant to stand as both a leader and a soldier. Her power rivaled kingdoms, but more importantly, she might awaken with a will of her own. Takuto realized the danger. If Isla retained memories from his game, especially about his decisions, she might not serve him at all. Her freedom could mean Managra's salvation or destruction. Takuto initiated the summoning ritual. With magic and determination, he poured his power into the circle. It was a final gamble. He vowed to protect Isla, even if it killed him. The sky twisted. Winds roared. Resources were pulled in violently. Observers watched in awe as the impossible began. The summoning exceeded all expectations, powerful, precise, and terrifying in scale. A black mass formed. From it, Isla would emerge. Takuto admitted it. The odds of success were nearly zero. And yet against all logic, fate, and fear, it was working. Isla appeared towering, powerful, regal. Her insect form was terrifying yet majestic. Takuto approached without hesitation. Others watched, unsure if she would accept him or turn against her summoner. Tension spiked. Ila moved suddenly, knocking Takuto back. Silence followed. Everyone held their breath. Then, from her mandibles, came calm words of recognition. She remembered everything. Ila knelt. She honored Takuto as her king, her summoner. Not with blind obedience, but with purpose. The queen of insects had returned, and she chose loyalty over power. Ila spoke, her voice gentle and refined. She remembered Takuto and everything from the game. Shock rippled through the room. She wasn't just a summon, she was a person reborn. Atu confronted Isla carefully. The queen confirmed it. She recalled her in-game treatment. Yet she remained loyal. Her feelings were mixed, memories clashed with reality. Still, she chose to follow. Takuto led Isla back to the palace. Isla, thoughtful and composed, accepted her role. Yet questions lingered. Was her loyalty rooted in memory, or something truly new? Takuto admitted his uncertainty, crediting Atu for their success. Isla declared her role to defend their kingdom. Her confidence was calm and powerful. She fully embraced her responsibility. Production of insect units progressed rapidly. Isla's strategy aligned with Takuto's. Atu prepared for battle. With offense and defense divided between them, Managra's war machine was finally complete. Takuto entrusted Isla with everything. She accepted not as a tool but as a being reborn. Sitting on her throne, she pledged loyalty with wings folded and purpose clear. Morning came late for Takuto. Ila sighed at his habits. He was helpless without Atu. Even so, her loyalty didn't waver. The new day in Managra began with light teasing. Carrie and Marie flapped into Takuto's room, chiding him playfully. To Isla, it was both endearing and troublesome. She realized her king still needed careful guidance from those around him. Training chaos erupted again. Gia's passion-shattered gear budget warnings followed. Isla stayed composed. While soldiers clashed and strained the system, the kingdom's pulse beat louder. War preparations were now routine. Takuto struggled with unfamiliar duties. Isla requested a tour of Managra, and Carrie and Mary eagerly accepted. Their bond grew warmer as they guided the newly born hero through the capital. Inside the palace, Isla observed officials working. She remained curious and respectful. listening to the twins' explanations. This was more than sightseeing, it was understanding how to protect what mattered most. From finance to census records, Isla absorbed details with keen interest. Though unfamiliar with bureaucracy, she focused on every element, learning how peace was maintained before she would defend it. Isla found herself impressed by the twins. Their intelligence and diligence exceeded her expectations. She began to understand why Takuto trusted them and welcomed their help in learning about Managra. At the Magic Research Lab, Isla arrived as Moltar oversaw operations. The researcher's odd direction caught her attention. Her curiosity deepened, and the twins continued guiding her attentively around the grounds. At the training site, Isla met Gia. A misunderstanding over broken equipment caused tension. Though Gia took issue, Isla remained composed, intent on evaluating her new allies calmly and fairly. Isla commended Gia's quick thinking, easing the tension. They settled on new duties and began inspecting the kingdom's various sectors, starting with the fields, then visiting the government office and plantations. The group toured the farms, observing human flesh tree plantations and the lush crops. Workers bowed in respect. Their next stop was the medical center, where Isla's presence stirred curiosity and awe. Welcomed with honor, Isla led the delegates into the facility. The brain eaters followed silently. Metal clanking echoed. As the inspection resumed, Managra's heartbeat laid bare beneath her commanding, composed gaze. Carrie described the food depot's role, where everyone gathered to cook, repair tools, and support one another. Housing remained scarce, but families were prioritized. Isla quietly observed their communal struggle. Isla acknowledged their adaptation, noting the environment sufficed for now. She understood her summoning had purpose. Still, she concluded intelligent dark elves were essential to Managra's progress, beyond just brute strength. As hunger struck, Atu dashed toward the food line. Her companions protested, but she insisted work can wait. Carla watched, amused, deciding to join. The group's stomachs had unanimously declared war. With nowhere to sit, murmurs rose from the crowded gathering. Carla suggested patience, but Atu cheerfully claimed the ground. Her carefree spirit softened the mood. Then suddenly, she brought something surprising. Atu returned with chairs, earning gasps. Takuto reflected deeply these people. Their lives deserved understanding. Sitting among them, he vowed silently, their safety, their smiles, would be protected at all costs. Takuto vowed with fierce resolve. Under the king's name, he'd protect them all. The people listened, hearts swelling. Lady Isla's gentle aura comforted them. It was like shelter within a cocoon. With soft pats, Isla praised the children's efforts. They blushed under her touch, warmth blooming. Her care was sincere, motherly. Even Atu giggled, recognizing her as family and spirit. Curious, Isla invited their thoughts. Brilliant minds deserved nurturing. The children hesitated but listened. Takuto, ready to announce the nation's future, declared the next priority for Managra's growth would be the academy. Takuto approved two key developments, Moat Reed and the academy. With Isla present, plans advanced swiftly. The Dark Elves, once feared, now rose as scholars securing Managra's future through intellect, not war. Takuto saw benefits. Ripple education empowered the people, including him. Isla praised the girl's ideas. Atu's situation? He chuckled. Interesting, he said. She always had a knack for stirring things up. Amid writhing roots and dark tendrils, Atu fought fiercely. Exhausted but proud, she smiled. Allies praised her strength. Though wild and dramatic, Atu's loyalty and might carved respect in every heart. While others worried over chaos, Atu's odd appearance drew stares. Some thought she was an octopus. Meanwhile, skills were flourishing. Races mingled, reports compiled, and preparations for battle intensified. An orc lamented missing out on Stone's skin. A goblin bragged about praise. Suddenly a hill giant attacked, loud, relentless. Panic rose, but one name cut through the tension, Atu. Without hesitation, Atu leapt forward. Stand aside, she said. Calm yet fiery, she launched into battle. With grace and wrath, she struck the giant, shouting her promise. Good day and die. Atu's blade slashed deep. The giant howled, but her assault never wavered. Blood sprayed, feet shifted, and her eyes blazed. Chaos reigned. Atu danced within it, unfazed, born for war. A cursed spell land of ruin shifted the battlefield. The old mage smirked knowingly. Atu adjusted midair, confident. The enemy adapted, but she thrived in the ever-darkening terrain of destruction. Steel clanged, her body spun. With taunting glee, she mocked the slow giant. Her bullet struck, her smile widened. Now goodbye, she whispered. The hill giant's fate was sealed. The giant's body collapsed, lifeless. Atu assessed cleanup calmly. Disposal near the city was impractical. As blood soaked the soil, something unexpected stirred beneath the earth, shifting fate once more. Suddenly, her senses flared. The giant's presence didn't fade, it vanished unnaturally. She turned upward. From the sky, strange symbols descended, foreign and ominous. A deeper threat had just awakened. An elder examined the gold coin, baffled. It wasn't native. Atu explained its origin. Barbarians vanished, leaving these coins. The corpses disappeared. Something foreign was triggering unnatural events across the continent. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A horde of barbarians surged from nowhere. Citizens panicked. Atu remained calm but alert. Questions rose. Panic grew. What force was behind this overwhelming invasion out of thin air? Takuto observed the strange army with unease. Their arrival felt staged, unnatural. A report came in. As tension built, one thought lingered in his mind. Was this really a game? Takuto recalled a strange sight from the battle. A coin appeared after the giant died. As reports came in, he recognized the pattern. It mimicked loot drops from role-playing games. He stared at the shimmering coin. The design was unfamiliar but deliberate. This wasn't random. Someone intelligent, someone strategic was behind the attacks, someone who thought in terms of systems. The pieces fit. This wasn't warfare, it was gameplay. Takuto's conclusion was clear. Their true enemy wasn't a general or ruler, but a gamer who played the world like an RPG. Rain fell over ruins. Among the wreckage, a lone figure approached. Her arrival brought eerie calm. Time itself seemed warped, as if existence were merely paused between turns of a game. A girl greeted the saint with twisted cheer. Life to her was endless death and rebirth. The saint, weary from countless executions, faced the familiar madness of a cursed cycle. They spoke, one playful, one solemn. Past lives, fallen saints, whispered truths. Immortality was her strength, yet the cost of revival was memory, and perhaps sanity. The game continued without mercy. With a twisted grin, she snapped. Her hatred boiled over. Followers rose, puppets to her madness. Power surged from her words, spreading death. The saint watched, calm yet bracing for conflict. A wave of corrupted townspeople charged, their minds enslaved, their wills shattered. The spell consumed reason. Yet the saint stood her ground, radiant, defiant. Her strength would not break so easily. She struck with fury, silencing chaos. The twisted girl panicked, overwhelmed by the saint's counter. Her bravado crumbled. "Time out," she cried. But mercy would not be granted so easily now. The battle ended in silence. Aronach fell. The saint stood amidst death, sorrowful. Leaves drifted as regret sank deep. She mourned every life lost, whispering apologies for those she couldn't protect. Takuto realized their enemy didn't follow strategy norms. This wasn't an SLG, it was an RPG. The difference changed everything. He began formulating a counterplan, studying the enemy's pattern like a gamer. The clues aligned. Their enemy wasn't local. It came from another world, another game. Takuto saw the connections, missing logic, foreign systems, strange loot. This was the work of another player. He confirmed it. Brave Questas, an RPG. Turn-based, stat-driven, party-focused. The enemy followed its rules. Takuto understood now. This world had become a game board. And he was no longer the only player. The game world was vast, its lore deep. Takuto remembered the crushing game over screens, stunning allies and endless foes. That very structure now dictated the reality they found themselves in. In the desert, monstrous figures gathered. Their goal, destruction. Two powerful generals, part of the infamous Four Devas, prepared the next move. To them, this world was just another stage. Confident in conquest, they rallied goblins and orcs under one banner. The past echoed loudly. Kingdoms had fallen before. With grins and fire, they marched again. War was no longer theory. Memories of war returned as the generals stood before their horde. One questioned their path. The other, firm in purpose, asked, "Do you still remember our ambition?" The fire reignited. Rallying beasts and soldiers, they planned destruction. The town was their next target. One general withdrew, content to leave bloodshed behind. The other grinned, eager to wield power once more. With massive strength, he raised the battle axe. Many had fallen to it, none survived. All but one, the hero. And so, the march of destruction began again. The fire general gazed at the spreading black mass. An old enemy's presence returned. Though he served the demon king, his own ambition stirred one that burned for conquest beyond orders. The town fell into chaos. Soldiers scrambled. Arrows dwindled. Antils tried to hold order, but fear was contagious. The enemy marched, and decisions had to be made before panic consumed all. Civilians were told to flee, Resources were tight. The defenders held the line while the mayor organized retreat. Duty burned in their hearts. This was no longer strategy, it was survival. Surrounded by monsters and dwindling forces, Antilze faced grim odds. Hill giants approached, flanked by orcs. Help was uncertain. Desperation pushed her to act, calling upon spirits to guide her. She reached for hope, seeking any insight. Chaos reigned around her. She stumbled exhausted, gasping, yet her will held. Among frightened civilians and violent beasts she stood searching for a way through. A goblin attacked. She barely evaded. An ally slashed it down, but danger surrounded them still. Gritting her teeth, Antilles called once more for spirits, for strength, for the city's future. Amid chaos, strange figures landed fast, efficient, terrifying. Goblins fell instantly. Antilles stared, stunned. These weren't enemies. Reinforcements had arrived just in time. The battlefield shifted as their monstrous allies began to turn the tide. Panic spread among the enemy. The creatures fought with unmatched speed. Antilles confirmed their identity: scouts of Managra. Unexpected, bizarre, but undeniably strong. Their arrival changed everything. Hope returned to the defenders. With calm resolve, Elder Moltar explained, these scouts were misunderstood but loyal. As the king's order reached the front, the call to arms spread. Managra's forces had finally entered the war. Reinforcements took formation swiftly. Elder Moltar commanded from behind, ordering bug scouts to assist frontline troops. The battlefield responded. Unity grew. For once, the tide leaned in Dragonon's favor. Moltar stepped forward, casting a powerful spell. The enemy staggered as roots burst upward. Barbarians screamed and fell. Chaos turned to confusion, and Managra's strength began to reshape the battlefield. Calm returned momentarily. Antilles, still shaken, thanked Moltar. He offered reassurance. As citizens found safety and warriors held firm, one truth solidified: this alliance had bought them time and hope. Concern rose. Atu had charged toward the enemy leader alone. Allies panicked, scolding her recklessness. But deep down, they knew Atu never acted without reason. Her strength was unlike any other. Despite fear, Antilles defended Atu's choice. Heroes of Managra would never fall so easily. Still, unease rippled. The enemy was vast, and even spirits trembled at what approached. The land felt wrong. The sky darkened. All sensed it: something vile had arrived. Antilles stood firm, heart pounding. Whatever was coming, she knew one truth: this is Managra, and it would endure. Atu walked calmly into enemy territory. Her arrival was silent, her presence unmistakable. The barbarian horde paused as she stood unfazed before their might. This confrontation was no accident. With a confident tone, she declared herself not of their world, but a tactician from another. Atu, the sludge, had arrived. Her strategy would rewrite the rules of this war. Ira struck fast, slicing the beast cleanly through the stone-cracked earth. Her power flared sharp, focused. The creature retaliated, but she danced away, light-footed, with vengeance swirling in her eyes. Wounded but raging, the beast lunged again. Iris spun mid-air, dodging claws wrapping her whip tight. One clean strike, his shoulder cracked. Calm, she landed, her breath steady, her mission continued. From afar, allies watched. Now's our chance, one barked. Ira's eyes narrowed. He's strong but reckless. Soldiers advanced. She faced them all undaunted, prepared. This battle was only just beginning. Ira dashed forward, shattering the earth beneath her. Her blade cleaved stone and flesh alike. The beast reeled, wounded but furious. She landed firm, eyes locked, ready for the counter. The beast lunged. Ira sidestepped, launching chains that wrapped its limbs. Her grip tightened. With a twist, she pulled it down. Dust swirled. Her stance held strong. Momentum remained hers. Reinforcements approached. Ira assessed quickly, no fear, only precision. Her opponent growled, recognizing her strength. She moved again, swift and exact. The battle expanded, but her control over it never wavered. The axe missed. Ira twisted midair, landing behind him, her speed overwhelmed. He stumbled, her eyes narrowed. No wasted movement. The enemy hesitated, realizing this battle was slipping from his control. He spoke of armies and demons, but Ira kept moving. Her chain struck first. His bulk slowed. His soldiers faltered. She identified the weak points, exploiting them with absolute precision. The battlefield emptied. Corpses surrounded her. Twisted limbs, shattered armor. She stood calm. One remained, stunned by loss. His force crumbled. Her strategy flawless. He now understood. This war wouldn't be easy. Ira withdrew smoothly. Observation confirmed Takuto's prediction. Positioning overwhelmed strength. The enemy's advance faltered. She adjusted pace, maintaining control. The strategy shifted. Their disarray widened. Victory was no longer uncertain. Takuto analyzed the enemy spread. Combat rules resembled simulations. Only visible foes could attack or be attacked. The enemy's off-screen units waited idly. Ira took advantage, neutralizing threats efficiently. Command issued. Spirits summoned. Ice energy gathered. The field turned frigid. Ira's foes prepared for a final push. Despite losses, desperation gave them momentum. She stood firm, calculating response options. The demons summoned spirits of ice, rising in synchronized motion. 4 figures took shape. Ira stepped back. This was no bluff. He changed tactics. The true threat had emerged. Takuto observed calmly. Endless summons posed risk, but the system favored limits. Ira listened. No panic. She planned counters. Demons advanced, unaware she had already adapted to their patterns. Their leader spoke of conquest, expecting fear. Ira stood still. His ambition meant nothing without execution. She smiled faintly, uninterested in speeches. Time wasted on threats only strengthened her timing. Ira questioned the demon's purpose. His stance shifted. Domination meant little without deeper will. Her words struck core doubts. He stood silent, a warrior shaped by orders, not dreams. Silence broke with sudden violence. Ira struck first, clean and fast. The clash ended doubts. She tested his type, reading his movement, exposing his reliance on brute strength alone. She analyzed calmly. His summons lacked coordination. Only 2 attacked per round. His mind favored combat, not planning. Ira saw through him. Strength without strategy was weakness, waiting to collapse. Ira dodged each blow with ease. The battlefield followed strategy rules, not brute force. Her enemy acted by RPG logic, predictable, limited. She knew this system. Advantage belonged fully to her. Her final movements unfolded. His arm shattered. Her attack never slowed. He stood alone. Summons depleted. She advanced steadily. All calculations pointed to his end. Her expression never changed. Cornered, he called upon a greater force. Ice roared. The battlefield froze. Ira paused, watching him transform. His strength returned. A new enemy emerged, Ice Rock, king of frosted might. Ice Rock swung. A towering wave of frost surged forward. Ira leapt to evade, blade ready. But something shifted. A sting of cold crept upward. She paused, briefly uncertain. Her motion halted, legs stiffened. She stared downward. Ice crept fast. It wasn't the blast. It was his presence, spreading frost beneath reason. Her confidence wavered. He had adapted. Ira grit her teeth. She miscalculated. His strength was no longer brute force, it evolved. He roared, proud. This was his true power. A frozen strike, perfectly executed. Ira revealed her true form. Dark tendrils surged behind her, writhing with power. Her eyes sharpened. One word marked the end. Ice Rock froze, understanding too late he was outmatched. His form shattered. The battlefield trembled. His final words faded into frost. Victory belonged to Ira. The demons fled. She stood alone, unharmed, scanning for threats. None remained standing. She reviewed the spoils, a special move unexpectedly efficient. Her expression twisted, half disbelief, half annoyance. Even so, she accepted it. Her strength grew. The conquest wasn't over just this battle. Ira stood victorious, but questions lingered. Skills from another world affected her too. She realized this wasn't one-sided. Even strategy held risks. Balance had shifted. Awareness would be her shield. While she reflected, enemies advanced. Tokens spread across sacred ground, silent, deliberate. The system warned them late. Ira had won, but elsewhere, the next threat had already begun. Messengers arrived in haste. Enemy troops marched toward Manhwa. Within the sacred tree halls, leaders responded. Takuto confirmed the threat. They mobilized, calm but alert. Defense was now top priority. Plans shifted quickly. They relocated to Central Command. Takuto, though cautious, lacked enough intel. The enemy's move was sudden, abnormal. Even predictable games left room for uncertainty in this world. He reviewed options. Waiting carried risk, but strategy offered leverage. If enemies followed scripted logic, then careful unit placement could win the day. Takuto remained focused. Survival demanded precision. Takuto took command, addressing the situation with clarity. Though behind, he declared a turning point. Defenses shifted, units repositioned. The enemy moved fast, but Manhwa would answer with calculated force. The enemy lacked real strength. Morale fueled their speed. Allies took positions. Bonuses from geography and territory stacked, brain eaters deployed. Preparation became key. Everyone understood survival came through structure. Isla confirmed her readiness. Hundreds of worker insects waited. Modified for combat, they could manage goblins. Not ideal, but enough. The frontline force took shape strange, imperfect, but fully committed. The map revealed troubling numbers, enemy forces closing in from the south. Retreat wasn't an option. With Isla by his side, Takuto believed Managra still had a chance to stand. He granted Isla enhanced powers, skills refined, limits lifted. His voice rang with command. She accepted without hesitation. The time for defense had come. Their kingdom would not fall quietly. Power surged within Isla. Her form steadied. For the first time, she felt fulfilled. This was purpose true and sacred. She would protect this home, no matter what arrived next. Isla embraced her role fully. To fight for her children, her kingdom, there was no higher honor. Confidence replaced fear. In war's shadow, she found pride and unstoppable strength. The twins watched silently. Isla reassured them. They smiled, holding back tears. Takuto gave his blessing. Isla would scout, strike, and return. The family bond fueled her renewed purpose. She departed quickly. Forests stirred as she vanished into the trees. The enemy was near. Soon they would face the one called Queen, the true power of Managra's defense. The Flame Knights advanced cautiously. Their instinct was to burn the forest, but they restrained themselves. Orders required stealth. The miasma grew dense. Something ancient stirred beneath the soil. They discussed past events. Some recalled their descent into this world. Others questioned it. The Demon Lord had arrived first, so had Flamen. Whispers began. Was there a greater force? Doubt settled among them. Their commander had always been loyal, but was he truly chosen? The idea disturbed them. If another power had moved first, their origin wasn't what it seemed. The scouts returned silent, then panicked. An ogre lumbered forward, grotesque and unfamiliar. Its body twitched unnaturally. One soldier stepped back. Something was wrong. No one had seen this before. The ogre's flesh pulsed. Strange movements spread through its skin. Soldiers shouted. A form burst outward, an insect, large and armored. It launched from the ogre's chest. Panic erupted instantly. The enemy scrambled. Bug! Someone cried. Explosions followed. The ambush was precise. Isla's parasitic swarm had arrived. The front lines staggered. Managra's defense began with terror, and it was working. The soldiers slashed desperately. Isla's insects were too small, too many. Blades missed. Panic spread. The ogres, now carriers, exploded on contact. The woods became a death trap. Fleeing became impossible. The terrain favored Managra. Demons fell one after another. A soldier screamed they should have burned the forest earlier. Regret came too late. The enemy now owned the ground. A new force emerged. Mutants claiming humanity arrived, furious. They called the forest sacred, the burning sacrilege. Their presence marked escalation. Battle shifted again. Stranger foes now entered the war. The new enemies wore human skin. Their grotesque appearance stunned the soldiers. Tension spiked. More abominations kept arriving, flesh twisted, behavior erratic. Panic took root. No one understood their origin. Combat erupted. A knight struck one down, only to find it still moving. Wounds meant nothing. Humor masked horror among the enemy. The battlefield turned nightmarish. Retreat became the only thought. Realizing their limits, the surviving force pulled back. Tell the boss, one ordered. Holding the line became priority, but the enemy surged forward, relentless, bizarre, and terrifying in number. The grotesque creatures pursued gleefully, taunting those who fled. Their words mocked loyalty. Soldiers escaped, barely alive. No plan remained, only the instinct to survive, and the knowledge they'd failed. They regrouped briefly. Exhausted. Fear etched into every breath. But something stirred in the shadows. A voice mocked them. They froze. The enemy was everywhere. Managra's defenders were never alone. Darkness loomed. A calm presence stepped forward. She didn't run. She welcomed the void. To her, the chaos wasn't terror, it was beauty. Absolute, silent, and cruel in purpose. The ground shook. Soldiers turned. Above them, shadows grew wide. Isla descended, wings spread, gaze locked. Her presence silenced the forest. The defenders of Managra had arrived at full power. Her landing split the earth. Trees trembled. Fear overtook the enemy ranks. A message appeared clear and final. Isla, Queen of Bugs, had entered the fray. The tide would turn. Cries filled the air. The queen moved. Her enemies broke before her. No orders needed. Her wrath was precise. For kingdom and kin she fought without hesitation, unyielding, unstoppable, absolute. Isla stood among fallen bodies, chewing with care. Her hunger was methodical, calculated. She absorbed strength with each bite. The flame warrior arrived, drawn by the sound and scent of carnage. The two locked eyes. Fire crackled from his limbs. She assessed calmly. He was stronger than the others, composed, deliberate. She questioned aloud if he was a true heavenly king. He confirmed it. Flame demon, one of the 4 kings. His fire grew hotter. The battlefield narrowed. This was no skirmish. Isla now faced one of the real threats. Isla introduced herself, poised and direct. She sought vengeance for her master and kingdom. Flamen, amused, welcomed the fight. Their clash wouldn't begin with diplomacy, it would be decided by strength. Flamen mocked her approach. Words failed between them. Fire roared as he prepared for battle. Isla remained calm. No more talk. Each understood their purpose now was to kill. With one final glare, they leapt. Fire met chitin. Strategy met fury. Isla, queen of bugs, had engaged the flame demon. The decisive battle for the forest had begun. Takuto paused, distracted. The twins noticed. He reassured them with a smile, but his mind remained elsewhere. Isla's mission weighed heavily. Her safety mattered far more than he admitted aloud. He analyzed the battlefield calmly. Isla had engaged Flamen. No scout reports suggested danger. Brain-eaters stood ready. Yet something still felt wrong. His instincts warned of an unseen threat. Isla released her swarm. Her voice echoed through the trees. The sky darkened with wings. Takuto couldn't see it, but war had shifted again. Her next move had just begun. Flamen charged, swatting his minions aside. His rage ignored allies. The battlefield bent to his fury. He roared at Isla, calling her weak. But she stood calm, waiting to respond. Her attack landed first, unexpected, massive. The force staggered Flamen. He recovered quickly, flames trailing behind him. Each movement scorched the trees, but Isla was gone, vanishing into the shadows again. Flamen chased her. The forest burned behind him. He stomped through leaves, unaware. Beneath the soil, something moved. Isla's hidden swarm, eyes wide, still and waiting for her signal. Flamen smirked. Isla's swarm exploded from underground, but he incinerated many with ease. They're weak, he spat. But Isla's gaze didn't waver. Quantity was never the point, it was positioning. He retreated briefly, flames trailing behind. You're a real monster, he muttered. Isla responded without pride. Their battle paused for a breath, just long enough for Flamen's reinforcements to arrive. Backup answered Flamen's call. Stronger units appeared, Isla assessed quietly. 3 enemy units, 2 bug stacks. The numbers tightened. Strategy now mattered more than ever. And her swarm was still growing. Isla reviewed the system's rules. Her bugs counted as her attacks. That limited her options. Summoning had a cost, but her creativity made each restriction another opening to exploit. She devoured a fallen beast, absorbing its strength. Her swarm found a new vessel. A dead enemy became a host, eyes twitching, body pulsing. Flamen's allies began to hesitate. Mocking laughter followed Isla's grotesque tactic. Her enemies recoiled in disgust, but fear took hold. To her, any corpse was a weapon, and the battlefield had no shortage of bodies. Isla calculated aloud. Parasite-spawn beasts counted as her units. Coordination tightened. She issued orders while taunting. Flamen bristled but held ground. The battle's tempo shifted, more precise, more dangerous. Amid combat, Isla asked directly, why attack both factions at once? The question pierced deeper than expected. Flamen deflected with mockery, but Isla wasn't playing. She was trying to understand. Flamen laughed, but his smile cracked. She pressed again. Puppet? Controlled? He grew tense. His role wasn't clear even to himself. Isla saw something. The enemy was fractured, not united. Flamen mocked Isla, calling her a puppet. But Isla stood firm, proud to serve her king. She didn't seek freedom, she chose loyalty. His words didn't shake her, only exposed him. Flamen raged, desperate for control. Losing again would break him. Fire surged. He saw Isla as the key to his freedom. One kill, he believed, would erase his suffering. Isla dodged calmly. She saw the truth. Flamen wasn't just angry. He was manipulated. His rebellion was an illusion. He chased answers, unaware he was designed never to find them. Flamen called for reinforcements again. Units swarmed the field. But Isla observed calmly. He didn't understand the system's limits. His desperation exposed weakness. Prolonging this battle served no purpose. He struck hard, but Isla recovered instantly. Her regeneration stunned him. "I'll keep healing," she said. He realized brute force wouldn't work. Still, he attacked again, hoping for a miracle. Fire spiraled. He launched his fiercest blast. Isla stood firm. Flames met carapace. Flamen panted, confused. Her tactics were deliberate, unshaken. She wasn't fighting to win, she was forcing him to fail. Isla's hidden swarm hatched, bursting forth from beneath the surface. The bugs launched in unison, encircling Flamen. His flames tore through them, but more emerged. Their assault never relented. He pushed forward, screaming through the horde. "Out of my way!" Rage carried him. Isla stood calm, blade drawn. Their eyes met again. The final clash neared. Isla asked if he had last words. Flamen smiled grimly. "Bastards," he growled. Behind his fury, defeat crept in. The queen hadn't just fought him, she had unraveled his will. With one clean strike, Isla ended it. Flamen fell. Her breathing slowed. Around her, silence returned. The queen had fulfilled her mission. The forest and its people remained safe. Takuto praised her from afar. Isla responded casually, offering bites of cooked foes. She had gained a level. Her bugs had fallen, but victory was worth the cost. As Isla celebrated, Takuto paused. Something felt off. A sound? A shift in presence? His thoughts trailed. Then, a sharp stillness. "Huh?" he muttered. The next threat had arrived. Isla gazed downward, unsure. A strange shift lingered in the air. She sensed something familiar, yet foreign. Below, two girls sat quietly, Maria and Karia, confused by their surroundings. The twins stared at empty space. Their water vanished. Questions filled their eyes. Isla descended cautiously. Her victory had been clear, but this, whatever it was, didn't follow any known rules. A powerful sorcerer, corrupted by evil magic, rose as one of the four heavenly kings. Cities fell in flames. His purpose seemed clear: destroy, dominate, and fulfill his destined role. Two figures arrived at the scorched land, confused by their sudden displacement. A guardian appeared, startled. Orders had changed. Tension rose. Protecting the twins became the only priority now. The creature screamed, rushing forward. Her children, still unhatched, were in danger. She called her swarm. Enemies threatened the sacred twins. There was no more time. The battle to protect had begun. The guardian scanned the horizon. No orders reached her. The twins stood silent, worried. Something was wrong. She moved to protect them, instincts taking control. The enemy was already near. She apologized for shouting, shielding the children with her body. Enemy laughter echoed across the field. The threat was real. Her duty was now personal protection above all else. A clawed enemy burst from hiding. The guardian reacted too late. Mockery followed the strike. Her confidence faltered. What she thought was under control had shifted. This fight was far from over. The enemy mocked her. He claimed the world was rotten, beyond saving. She attacked, no effect. His body endured without decay. Something felt off. Her strikes were being suppressed unnaturally. He laughed, revealing the truth. He was already dead. A forced event. Her role meant nothing. The system overruled skill. She recognized the glitch, but couldn't break it alone. Her limbs weakened. The system's script played out. Even as she resisted, the body failed. No mistake. She was caught in a preset moment written long before she arrived. Isla warned the twins to stay back, but their bodies moved on their own. A force beyond their will guided them. Even Isla felt it, unseen strings pulling tight. A voice echoed from the void. "Maybe this is scripted." The enemy laughed bitterly, powerless to resist. He called them all puppets, trapped in a fate they couldn't outrun. He screamed in frustration, body breaking free from restraints yet still bound by the system. Isla watched, calm but wary. The rules had changed again. The story wasn't done yet. Isla unleashed one final strike. Her body trembled. The twins watched in silence. "This is the best I could do," she thought. But the enemy only smirked, barely bothered. The explosion tore through the field. Flames engulfed everything. Isla disappeared in the smoke. Takuto and others looked on, too far to help, too late to stop what was done. Silence followed destruction. Ashes drifted. From the wreckage, the twins emerged bruised, but alive. They called for Isla, uncertain. Their voices trembled, but the queen did not answer. Isla collapsed, covered in ash and blood. She smiled gently. The twins clung to her, alive. She had protected what mattered. Her body broken, but her heart at peace. Under the moonlight, Maria and Karia whispered gently. Their king had taught them words filled with love. The night was quiet, and for once, they felt truly safe together. Karia remembered the pain, hunger, fear, their mother lost. But now, warm beds and steady meals surrounded them. Their king gave them peace. Slowly, they began to believe in tomorrow. Maria smiled again. The moon is beautiful, isn't it? Carria nodded. The same words, once empty, now meant everything. For the first time, their world wasn't cruel, it was kind. Under the same moon, the girls promised to keep their thoughts secret just between them and the stars. They would tell Mama Isla later, but later came far too soon. Isla, scorched and collapsing, appeared before them. Relief turned to fear. Maria screamed. Carria held back tears. Their protector smiled faintly. Her voice trembled, but her love remained unshaken. Isla knelt, weakened. This is as far as I go, she whispered. She entrusted her final words to the girls. They listened closely, hearts breaking, hands tightly clutching hers. Flames consumed the ground as the girls clung to Isla's broken body. Desperation surged. Her strength faded quickly, but her focus remained fixed, protecting them, no matter what it cost. The girls collapsed in tears. They didn't understand why happiness always shattered. Isla's body burned. They cried for someone to stop it. Isla knew she had no more time. With her final breath, Isla remembered them, how they grew, how they learned. She had never expected to love them, but in the end, they became her purpose to live. Isla stood tall, her body barely holding together. She had become something new, not just a guardian but a mother. Her final instinct was to protect them both. She used her remaining strength to transfer power. The girls watched in horror. This wasn't recovery, it was sacrifice. She defied the rules, broke boundaries, and embraced her fate alone. The decision was clear. To live, they had to consume her again. Tears fell, hearts shattered. Isla apologized, but there was no other way. Their survival would be her legacy. Isla's form disintegrated. Her last thoughts were not of despair, but hope. She had only one wish left for the girls to survive, even if it meant losing everything. The twins stood in silence. Everything they loved had been taken again. The world kept breaking them. Faced with hatred, they no longer wept, they chose to return it. Blood on their lips, power in their eyes. The girls changed. They weren't weak anymore. What the world refused to give, they would take together. As survivors born of ruin, they stood together beneath the moon, ashes still warm. The battle had taken everything but left behind a bond unbroken. In silence, they honored her. Their mother. Her wish now theirs to carry. News of Isla's final act spread fast. She had passed her strength onto the twins. Those watching began to fear them, no longer children, but heirs to something ancient and terrible. The Empire moved quickly. Orders clashed. Warnings rose. The girls advanced south, relentless and silent. Those who saw them spoke in hushed voices, no longer witches, but weapons built from grief. Chaos gripped the command. Doubt spread. Could the twins be stopped? Was Isla's legacy still unfolding? Their king stood firm, torn between risk and reason, knowing what would happen if he failed. The order was clear: stop the twins before they became unstoppable. Atu prepared herself, masking her heart. The king trusted her, but deep down she feared what she might face. She leapt into the battlefield, fury igniting her steps. Everything felt wrong. Was this justice or betrayal? Isla was gone, but her echoes screamed through the blood-soaked wind. Their systems failed to predict this. The twins moved beyond calculation. They didn't need guidance anymore. They were purpose born from death, and they no longer recognized anyone as kin. Atu's heart broke as she knelt, guilt suffocating her pride. Around her, silence screamed louder than war. But far beyond, a shadow stirred, watching the sacrifice with unreadable eyes. From a quiet balcony, the demon lord emerged. His eyes held no warmth, only calculation. He had waited long, letting others fall. Now, he moved to claim his stage. Fate laughed in the demon lord's voice. The world had changed, yes, but not for peace. He declared their story would end now, on his terms, under his moon. Darkness fell as the demon lord raised a veil to shroud the battlefield. The twins stood back, shielding each other. His voice echoed, cruel and calm, invoking ruin without hesitation. The barrier collapsed. Light surged from the twins as unknown power awakened within them. The demon lord, once certain, faltered. He asked a question, not for knowledge, but for control. Carria and Maria stood united, unmoved. They had no gods, no faith, only each other. In that bond, unbreakable and pure, they carried the will to stand and resist. The demon lord dismissed the girls' denial of divinity, seeing them as the trial fate placed before him. He shed all restraint. Shadows surged. His true form awakened. Transformed into a monstrous beast, he challenged them, his trial declared with roaring fury. But the girls, unshaken, watched with growing clarity. Love, not power, would answer this cruelty. He stood defiant, demanding confrontation. The twins laughed not from mockery, but understanding. They no longer feared his darkness. Their hearts, unified by resolve, became the light to resist him. The twins marveled at the raining blades sparkling, aimless. The demon lord's attacks lost meaning. Their presence disoriented his will. Wonder replaced fear. Laughter bloomed amid weapons meant to kill. Frustrated, the demon lord unleashed a greater volley. Weapons filled the sky. The girls stood firm, unmoved. The world's cruelty surged again. Yet they did not flinch nor run. Memories of loss resurfaced. Their mother's warmth was gone. Surrounded by hatred, they whispered the truth only she ever loved them. Alone against the storm, they prepared to respond. Karia charged forward, blades cutting the air around her. Grief fueled her strike. The past echoed, her own hands ended their protector. She pierced the beast without hesitation or mercy. The blow failed to bring him down. The demon lord mocked her effort. As Karia collapsed, Maria stepped in. Calm, resolute, she walked forward and opened her mouth. The demon lord froze, devoured by a child's curse. Maria consumed him. Shock filled the air. He, a beast of terror, was chewed by innocence. A new horror was born. Maria giggled, her legs suddenly whole again. The demon watched, stunned. She consumed the pieces and healed. A twisted system bound them. Karia's pain became Maria's strength. Maria heard voices in the corpses. They whispered from inside the demon lord's flesh. She pointed at him, smiling. Love waits for you, she said. Fear stirred in him. He questioned their right to affection. Maria saw only betrayal. She ordered vengeance. Love for Karia returned as ruin, and from her fingers black spears of flame began to fall. The demon lord's body burned and twisted. He staggered, overwhelmed by an unknown force. Karia advanced without hesitation, while Maria's calm gaze tracked every moment of his collapse. Panicking, he shouted to halt their advance, but they were relentless. Magic burst, terrain shattered. Karia soared like a missile, launching a direct strike. He screamed, wounded, furious, retreating. Amid destruction, Maria landed gracefully. Karia prepared her next move. The demon lord leapt back, trying to regroup, but the balance had shifted. His monstrous form no longer guaranteed dominance. Karia stood unshaken as shards whirled. The demon lord, irritated, tried to finish them, but something was wrong. His injuries lingered. Regeneration slowed. Unease replaced his overconfidence. He began to doubt. He watched in horror. His wounds wouldn't heal. Their blood, their presence, it was disrupting him. For the first time, he sensed fear. 2 children had become his greatest threat. Mocked by Maria, he snarled. Brats, he hissed. Yet their cheerfulness, their hope, clawed deeper than blades. Forget the pain, Maria smiled. We'll bury it in love. Consumed by their light, the demon lord writhed. The twins' love erased ancient curses. Forgotten were pain and suffering, yet his ambition endured. He could not accept defeat from them. Driven by will alone, the demon lord roared back to life. Declaring divine right, he stood again. Fueled by fury and madness, he prepared to crush the children's resistance. Takuto panicked and burst through the door, the girl's intense stares freezing him in place. He remembered the prophecy and his duty. Despite fear, he couldn't abandon his chosen role. Raising his hand awkwardly, Takuto faced the silent judgment. A girl stepped forward, claiming loyalty. The others watched, still wary. Takuto welcomed her nervously, unaware danger loomed from behind them. A stone giant stepped forward, shielding Takuto with calm strength. His composed voice eased the tension. Takuto stood tall beside him as the enemy approached, signaling the true beginning of conquest. The battle ended quickly. Takuto stood proud, flashing a confident smile. Atu cheered, amazed by his strength. She asked about cheats, but he brushed it off, calling it a lucky gift. Though praised, doubt crept into Takuto's mind. Could he really save this world? Atu reassured him gently. Together, they walked forward, determined to face God's fate and any challenge ahead. Far away, tension rose at the Elemental Alliance. Troops mobilized fast as alarms sounded. Leaders barked orders. Unknown figures had appeared. No one knew their origin, but they prepared for war. As birds scattered, a new threat appeared, succubi flying in formation. Elven scouts raised alarm. Eyes widened in disbelief as the seductive swarm approached, their aura radiating mischief and danger. The succubi ogled the elf soldiers openly. Queen Vegia licked her lips, eager for chaos. Her companions teased and drooled, ignoring decorum. The elves watched, stunned by the shameless display. Offended, the elves demanded respect. Vegia smirked, mocking their pride. She leapt forward with flair, declaring freedom to indulge. Her allies followed, chaos erupting. The battle of charm had begun. Vajia provoked the elves further, flaunting her body boldly. One elder shouted in rage, demanding modesty. She teased him with mock offense, drawing closer, her voice thick with playful menace. Flustered and red-faced, the elder fumbled his words. Vajia pressed in, taunting his reaction. The succubi cackled. With a sudden strike, she sent him flying, leaving the elves stunned and speechless. Zeus Tethroy rose with fury, invoking sacred law. He declared judgment on Vajia and her kind, calling her a harlot queen. Magic stirred. The battle now turned from mocking to deadly serious. Zeus unleashed divine wrath, channeling massive energy into a single beam. Light erupted across the field. Vajia hovered confidently, gathering her power. Amused by the dramatic overkill aimed her way. The elves fired relentlessly. Succubi watched in awe and teasing admiration. Laughter echoed as Vajia revealed her absurd counterattack titty slap. Spirits trembled. Elves held breath. The sky cracked with impact. Smoke cleared. Vajia stood unharmed, taunting them with a flirtatious smirk. She scolded their recklessness, yet smiled at their boldness. Her charm remained unshaken, and the battle continued with twisted grace. Zeus collapsed, defeated and humiliated. He shouted divine resistance, but Vajia remained unfazed. Her charms overwhelmed logic. The succubi laughed. Victory came not by might, but by irresistible distraction and chaos. With proud declarations, Vajia claimed dominion. The succubi cheered, seducing the battlefield into surrender. Elves panicked as the tower fell. Their cries echoed while Vajia smiled, offering conquest in the god's name. Snow blanketed the ruined lands. Far away, in Qualia's cold provinces, word of the succubi's chaos spread. Silent figures emerged from frostbitten ground. A new force now stirred to respond. A girl opened her eyes beneath falling snow. Curious and confused, she examined the dice in her hand. One roll later, her fate shifted. Her critical hit changed everything instantly. Arakino cheered, thrilled by her success. Her companions looked on, puzzled but amused. She bounced with excitement, proudly reporting to her master, shifting tone wildly. No one questioned her momentum. The group accepted her role as divine command. They prepared to move. Arakino led with energy, spirits high. Their destination, Minagra. Her joyful cry echoed. Dice rolled, destiny called them forward. Takuto sat alone in the quiet Minagra treehouse. The world outside raged, but inside, silence ruled. He processed battle reports, fatigue weighing on him. Thoughts of his allies crept in. He reflected on Isla's fate, blaming himself. He'd overlooked a critical event, one rooted in game mechanics. Memories of battles past resurfaced. He realized too late the signs he missed. Takuto clenched his fist in regret. Isla's death haunted him. If only he had ordered better, seen clearer, taught stronger. Alone in sorrow, he questioned his worth as a leader. A dark voice echoed in Takuto's mind. I've taken her from you. The weight of loss returned. Meanwhile, the twins bowed, scolded for disobeying during a critical moment. Atu guided the twins back. Takuto collapsed outside the damaged treetop. Concern filled her eyes. He rose, composed but pale, thanking everyone and requesting a full gathering without delay. Takuto addressed the court. He praised their efforts but turned serious. National order had to be upheld. Atu stepped in, requesting formal punishment for the twins who ignored royal command. The court expected punishment. Takuto looked calm and firm. He surprised all by declaring no charges. Mercy, not retribution, ruled his heart. Whispers rose. His kindness defied expectations and tradition. Atu objected, fearing disobedience would spread. Takuto silenced her, stepping forward. He bowed deeply before all, taking responsibility. His words struck hard. The loss, the chaos, it was his failure alone. Takuto's humility moved the room. Elves trembled. The twins cried. His apology reshaped the moment. One by one they knelt. You need not apologize, they said. We are unworthy. Voices warned Takuto. A king must never kneel. Apologies, they said. We can rule. But he ignored them. Atu, conflicted, listened. He vowed not to falter, even if dignity was shaken. Takuto stood resolute. He faced the twins and made a solemn promise. I will bring Isla back. His words pierced doubt. They stared in shock, torn between belief and despair. Cries of impossibility rang out. Hero units couldn't be summoned twice. Takuto defied reason, his eyes unwavering. He spoke of civilization's destiny, eternal happiness, eternal peace. His conviction sparked new hope. Takuto declared their path forward ascension. Confused yet hopeful, the people listened. Eternal peace, divine revival. A gate opened. It was the hardest victory in eternal nations, yet now within reach. Though the possibility stunned all, doubt lingered. The path was near impossible. Enemies would rally. Even allies might turn. But Takuto and Atu, resolute, would challenge fate and pay any price. Marching forward, they vowed to eliminate all threats. No hesitation, no retreat. Only the victors will remain, Atu said coldly. Takuto smiled beside her. Their conquest had truly begun anew. Takuto stood tall, his voice unwavering. No more hesitation, he declared. Eyes shone with purpose. His people rallied. Their journey wasn't over. It had only just begun. World conquest now awaited. Takuto guided his group through the lively marketplace. They marveled at the stalls. Citizens traded gold for magic, fueling production. Takuto explained the process calmly, proud of their nation's growth. He shared how this place, once a resource hub, evolved into a strategic center. Trade-in value soared. With careful planning, they built efficiently, maximizing resources and expanding their infrastructure steadily. They reviewed key buildings, living reeds, learning institute, training grounds. Takuto cautioned about storing excess magic. With assigned roles in place, they agreed conserve gold, observe results, and expand only if needed. Takuto led his group to the training grounds, addressing the urgent issue: combat strength. They were greeted with respect. New units were forming, and training had begun in earnest. The commander showcased a terrifying insectoid warrior. Takuto observed calmly. The evolved headhunter bug showed deadly potential. Combat stats impressed all. Meanwhile, a familiar soldier returned, tasked with observing performance. Takuto requested a demonstration. The soldier took aim at a dummy target to show the bug's agility. But before he could react, the monster vanished, then struck, knocking him back hard. Takuto watched the target training. The soldier missed slightly, but Takuto encouraged him. Despite limited time, their growth impressed him. Humble effort, not perfection, would prepare them for future battles. Carvia observed her sister's skill with awe. Encouraged, she took aim. With imagination and determination, she succeeded. Takuto cheered, morale rose. The sisters' bond fueled progress none could ignore. The commander explained their strength. Isla's inherited power enhanced their control. Takuto acknowledged the gift. Discussion turned to logistics. Ammo supply was next. As training advanced, preparation turned from theory to necessity. The commander questioned resource use. Takuto reassured him ammo could be recycled, grenades rationed. Training was worth it. Accuracy mattered more than firepower. The commander nodded, trusting Takuto's efficient leadership. Takuto smiled confidently. He planned to commercialize the power soon. Just as preparations stabilized, a sudden report came in. A messenger had arrived from Dragon Tana. Urgency rippled through the camp. Inside, council members reacted cautiously. The letter offered control over Dragon Tana. Doubts surfaced. Was it a trap or opportunity? Their king's next decision could reshape the balance of nations. The council reviewed Dragon Tana's offer. Suspicion lingered. It felt too generous. They hadn't initiated contact. Could it be a trap or a consequence of internal unrest? Takuto listened without interrupting. An update arrived. Dragon Tana's people were fleeing. Minagra's past assault triggered an exodus. Though the city stood, its government had lost control. Public trust had vanished. Fonkavan's failure ran deep. Takuto considered the opportunity. With people scarce in Managra, this transfer could solve both sides' problems. Though resources were tight, gaining population and land might strengthen their long-term position significantly. Takuto proposed a bold plan: sell weapons to Dragon Tana. Shocked reactions followed, but he explained the advantage. Their tech couldn't replicate it. He alone controlled production. Leverage was firmly in Managra's hands. As Dragon Tana's troops trained, they'd become reliant on Takuto's ammo. He framed this as strategic influence, not charity. With exclusivity in his favor, he transformed dependence into political dominance. Takuto extended the offer to Fonkavan too. Strengthening allies through trade would stabilize the region. Control, not conquest, became his tool. Without Managra, their survival and unity was impossible. The room quieted. Takuto, calm and composed, declared they would negotiate for now. He assured his people, in time, all would belong to Managra. No force could resist forever. He stressed manpower and long-term security. The deal was just a start. His confidence never wavered. Behind his words, a deeper plan stirred control through peace, masked by cooperation. Far away, At the Cathedral of St. Amritate, a different power stirred. Cloaked in sacred halls, an unknown figure moved to a dark rhythm. Another force had begun to awaken. In another land, dice rolled. A bizarre figure emerged, Arakino, wild and unpredictable. Declaring chaos, she disrupted the holy order. Even the priests seemed stunned by her unorthodox, irreverent arrival. The veiled saint Soalina questioned the madness. Why this vulgar display? Her concerns were met with laughter. Arakino pressed further. Was this disorder truly what the nation required? Soalina hesitated. Others claimed divine justification. Arakino refused vague answers, demanding truth. As tension rose, the saint faced her moment, caught between faith, duty, and the chaotic force standing before her. Soalina's voice trembled. Accusations echoed abuse, corruption, betrayal of the people. Arakino confronted her without restraint, claiming justice had been served. She demanded, why feel guilt when evil had been removed? Soalina asked Arakino's true goal. With clarity and passion, Arakino declared her vision: no pain, no abuse, a country where joy reigned, a land where no one would suffer again. Tears welled in Soalina's eyes. Arakino reached out with fierce conviction. Let's build it together, she urged. A united world of happiness. Her dream sounded mad, yet strangely sincere. Soalina, eyes filled with hope, made one plea: no more senseless killing. Arakino agreed without hesitation. In sacred halls, saint and witch joined hands. Two ideals aligned. A fragile peace began. Soalina read the damning records. Corruption ran deeper than she feared: bribery, oppression, neglect. She regretted her ignorance and vowed to act. People suffered behind every line she now understood. Paladin Fjord arrived with grim news. Hidden wealth in the dead cardinal's estate shocked them. Soalina called for reform, lamenting her earlier inaction. A new path had to begin. Open seats piled up as corruption collapsed. Soalina noted the gap: too many roles, too few replacements. Yet, citizens endured. The people remained steady, held together by quiet, faithful resilience. Staff shortages worsened. Soalina authorized name usage to recruit faster. Secrecy was crucial. If the central branch interfered, chaos would erupt. Fjord acknowledged radio silence must be preserved at all cost. Deep within the cathedral, darkness lingered. Fjord sensed something from the past surfacing. Then Arakino burst in, loud, cheerful, unpredictable. Her presence disrupted the room and pulled old memories forward. Arakino teased playfully. Fjord, overwhelmed, nearly collapsed. Something inside him stirred. Her strange power affected more than minds, it rewrote presence. Everyone smiled, confused and uneasy. Arakino simply beamed back. Okay, approximately, Arakino joked, calling Fjord a black company president. He laughed but stayed alert. When she revealed secret documents, he was stunned. Her charm worked fast, turning doubts into obedience again. Arakino cheered her small victory. Fjord rushed off, eager to act. Soalina quietly questioned it. Was he brainwashed again? She feared Arakino's power, even if the results seemed positive. Soalina looked inward. If this success continued, lives could be saved. No more suffering like her own. But as hope grew, so did the shadow of doubt, and someone watched silently. The veiled saint, Fene Kamer, entered softly. Her voice was divine, her presence graceful. Arakino greeted her with charm, but Soalina watched closely. Something about Fene's arrival didn't sit right. Fene praised Arakino's progress. Soalina reflected on the fragmented structure of Qualia, where regions acted independently. Her concern grew. How had Arakino reached so far without facing serious resistance? Soalina asked bluntly, had Fene been manipulated too? Fene's response was clear: no. She denied any influence, but her tone left Soalina shaken. Was Arakino's influence spreading even without coercion? Rumors spread Fene had made a secret deal. Soalina's suspicion deepened. Arakino urged unity, but Fene dismissed it. Saints were divine tools, not whimsical saviors. Compassion, she said, was weakness. Fene's voice echoed. All people deserve to be saved. Her words seemed righteous, yet Soalina felt the weight behind them. Something about this saint's mission didn't align with peace. Far away, another envoy arrived, nervous, unaccompanied. She breathed deeply. The meeting with Managra was about to begin. Whatever peace remained now balanced on decisions yet to be made. Antilles reminded her group of their duty to Dragon Tana. They must act with honor. Their agreements with Manogra stood, and the path forward demanded clarity, resolve, and mutual respect. She descended the steps, determined, but a shadow loomed. A powerful force approached, silent, overwhelming. The envoy's eyes widened. This meeting wasn't political. It was the beginning of something much darker. A monstrous portal opened. Darkness reached out like tendrils. Antilles ran toward it, powerless. Shapes swirled in the void. The delegation vanished, swallowed whole. Witnesses stood frozen. No one spoke. Antilles trembled before Ira Takuto. His aura crushed the air around her, yet she forced composure. The others recovered slowly. She realized this overwhelming figure was the king of Manhwa. The delegates formally welcomed Takuto and his companions. Antilles introduced herself and her city. Despite fear, she maintained poise. Takuto responded calmly, and tension began to shift toward diplomacy. Gia and Moltar observed in silence. Though wary of Takuto's aura, they noted his restraint. Beneath the black robe, he radiated power, but his words showed reason. Talks could begin. Atu arrived atop her monstrous mount, unnerving all. Labeled a Lady of Darkness, she still held her poise. Tension rose. Could they really treat these beings as equals? Talks began. A familiar face, Pope Kun, greeted Takuto warmly. He offered Dragontan in exchange for something personal. The mood lightened. Allies from different paths met once again as friends. The room settled into negotiations. Questions rose about value, offerings, and intentions. Moltar and Gia observed. As laughter replaced dread, the council prepared to hear every side. Hope cautiously returned. Moltar raised concerns. Dragontan's instability made it a risky gift. He questioned the true cost. Though polite, his guarded tone hinted at suspicion toward Takuto's deeper intentions. Takuto remained composed. He acknowledged Dragontan's value and clarified his position. He didn't want dominance, but something equivalent in worth. Strength, strategy, or weapons knowledge would balance the exchange. The room grew quiet. Solina saw imbalance, unclear goals, too many unknowns. Negotiations were tense, not transparent. Still, Takuto's patience held. The talks weren't over, but both sides treaded carefully. Pope Kun spoke up. Takuto needed people. Dragontan had too many. Why not trade needs directly? The logic was simple, bold, and cut through lingering doubt like a clear wind. Takuto smiled. The conversation turned. He'd led them here from the start. Even Dragontan's management could wait. His strategy worked sincere, precise, and suited for rebuilding a nation together. Moltar confirmed consensus. Negotiations ended sooner than expected. What began tense became productive. Dragontan would change hands, and with it, new hope stirred for both Manhwa and its new allies. Takuto stepped forward, his voice calm but powerful. "Do you desire power?" he asked. The response came instantly, "Yeah." What followed would reshape their fate. The deal was now sealed. The Dragontan office bustled with activity. A proposal for the Learning Institute was filed. Though not urgent, changes were constant. Antilles worked tirelessly, adapting quickly to her new role. She requested a document delivery, calm and focused. A colleague noticed her transformation so different from before. Antilles reflected quietly. Dragontan now belonged to Manhwa, and nothing would be the same. Takuto arrived, speaking directly. City roles needed filling fast. Antilles agreed. Only a week had passed, yet Dragontan's systems moved smoothly. She marveled governance had never worked this well before. Antilles noted the rapid improvements: food, education, logistics. Manhwa's systems were efficient. Even new warriors adapted fast, especially those from larger clans. Acceptance came naturally with visible, tangible support behind it. But nothing impacted Dragontan more than guns. What once took squads to defend now required only trained hands. Barbarians posed no threat. Suppression had become a manageable, even simple task. Antilles witnessed training firsthand. The range, power, and ease of use impressed her. Even civilians cheered. Doubts faded. Safety returned to the streets, enforced by knowledge and firepower. Antilles and her team pushed forward. Managing reports, trade, and personnel took constant effort. The pace was demanding, but progress steady. The transfer deadline was only a month away. She reviewed Manhwa's urban plan, detailed and thorough. It addressed cursed land and logistics. The plan felt ambitious but doable. She prepared to submit final drafts. Then, screams erupted outside. Chaos struck. A masked figure harvested skin from a merchant. The attacker thanked him coldly. Locals panicked, shouting, "Monster!" Whatever calm Dragontan found was already under threat once more. The urban plan advanced. Abandoned houses were reclaimed. Cursed land would be stabilized and repurposed. Key zones were marked for training, trade, and research. No space would be wasted. Infrastructure took priority. Roads connected Dragontan, Managra, and Fonkhaven. The Dragon Vein Zone was marked for dual control off-limits to civilians. Logistics were planned carefully. Order and foresight guided every decision. Citizens lined up calmly. Supplies were distributed efficiently. Announcements guided everyone. The atmosphere was tense but stable. Rebuilding had begun not just in stone, but in the people's confidence. Dragontan's food shortage remained critical. Managra supplied rations. Local chefs used meat fruit to stretch supplies. Though temporary, the population stabilized. The city's survival now relied on outside logistics and planning. Justice was swift. A repeat offender, Jiru, was condemned. Citizens gathered to witness. Children spoke of skinning without fear. Public execution became routine. Dissent was punished without mercy. Some questioned the morality. Was happiness rooted in fear? Yet the people felt safe, fed, secure. Antilles stood conflicted. This was peace but cloaked in something far from pure. Antilles stood proud, determined to make Dragontan thrive. Reconstruction moved forward, and confidence surged. But in the background, not all systems were performing well, especially in education. Atu fumed. A test with Dragontan staff at Managra failed miserably. Their incompetence was obvious. Takuto calmed her, reasoning that some flaws were forgivable. It was still early. They restructured priorities. Focus shifted to finishing construction. Once stabilized, they would track problematic ideologies. Long-term control required vigilance and smarter planning. Dragontan's fate was now bound to their discipline. Gia reported back no clear intel from Qualia or Elnar. Takuto analyzed the silence. Something was wrong. A fog of war had settled, with major threats possibly already defeated. They theorized, if the witch won, there would be movement, but nothing stirred. Takuto asked for Gia's assessment. She cautiously stated the witch likely emerged victorious both in Qualia and Elnar. Takuto agreed. No response from neighboring nations meant fear or paralysis. Witches weren't just powerful, they were strategic weapons. And not once had any nation ever dared attack Manogra directly. They discussed rumors of 2 witches in the north. Perhaps Elnar didn't act because both nations were attacked. It explained their silence, and their failure to respond or recover. Speculation deepened. What if they faced demon lords? Spirit users like Emal weren't enough. Unlike Managra, other nations might have fallen. Their armies may have collapsed without proper leadership or firepower. The threat felt real. Takuto emphasized the need to recruit carefully. Gia offered to train new riflemen, inspired by Takuto's drink. Preparation was urgent. Delay could mean defeat. Takuto considered summoning a new hero unit, but Atu and others strongly objected. The candidate was powerful but chaotic. Despite their skill, their personality could bring more trouble than support. Takuto relented. They would wait and tech up instead. By expanding the pool, better options would emerge. Atu's seriousness impressed everyone. For now, stability came before experimentation. Gia worried they were too relaxed. But Takuto urged calm. Both enemy nations remained inactive. With the data from Magnahida, they'd prepare slowly and build a solid foundation. Takuto gave his final orders. He trusted his team and asked them to trust him in return. They agreed. Everything now depended on unity and the ability to adapt. Alone, Takuto considered unknown variables. The mysterious figure who defeated the Demon Lord might be a third power. He lacked intel. Until then, he would act with extreme caution. Far away, crowds shouted with joy. Solina-sama the Saintess appeared before the people. Reverence filled the air. A new leader had risen, and she now commanded an audience of thousands. Solina stepped into the public eye, her expression composed. The crowd roared Saintess in admiration. Arikino encouraged her from the side, nudging her to smile and appear more approachable. Despite Solina's nervousness, Arikino teased her kindly. The people praised Solina as a symbol of southern prosperity. Arikino, carefree as ever, danced proudly, spreading joy wherever she bounced. Solina thanked Arikino, crediting her for this peace. The bond between them deepened. Though overwhelmed, Solina promised to adjust. Together, they stepped forward toward a shared future for all. The people of Dragontan gathered. Murmurs filled the air as an announcement began. They listened carefully, unaware their town's fate would change forever under the shadow of a new banner. Takuto declared it clearly. Dragontan would become part of Managra. A dark aura surged as the crowd absorbed the news. Eyes widened. The atmosphere trembled under Managra's presence. As tension broke, Takuto exhaled in relief. The citizens cheered cautiously. Allies gathered beside him, smiling. For now, The integration was peaceful and his nerves finally settled after the bold proclamation. Takuto received praise for his speech. His allies expressed relief. Though nerves were high, they'd stood tall. The team reflected on their roles, glad the event unfolded without issue. The handover marked a powerful message. Managra's influence had reached beyond Dragon Tan. Observers, nations, and even enemies were watching now. Their next steps would determine the balance of power. With security in place and impressions made, the delegation prepared for the next phase. Takuto smiled at Antilles. Their progress felt real. Gratitude was exchanged. The alliance was now official. Excitement built as the town prepared for fireworks and feasting. Takuto and his companions planned the celebration. Though cheerful, his aura made it difficult for him to blend with civilians. Unable to roam freely, Takuto stayed back while the others gathered food. Mortar and the twins helped. Observing the crowd, he noticed unfamiliar figures, but they showed no immediate threat. Something felt off. Takuto spotted a face that didn't belong. Suspicion crept in. He questioned security, unsure if danger was near or if his instincts were simply being cautious. Mortar confronted the unfamiliar woman, demanding answers. Her gaze turned wild, dangerous. Before anyone could react, she struck with terrifying speed. Chaos erupted. Takuto's allies barely registered her attack in time. The woman revealed her true nature, a cunning predator cloaked in innocence. Her ambush had been effortless. As panic spread, Arakino and others realized the festival's peace was only temporary. Meanwhile, Veli grew suspicious of Arakino and the Saintess's growing bond. Though dismissing it as harmless loyalty, she couldn't ignore the closeness between them. Tension brewed quietly beneath smiling faces. The people of Dragon Tan gathered, unaware their fate would change. Takuto publicly declared the town's merger with Managra. His presence stunned them. Behind his calm smile, he concealed deep anxiety. After the announcement, allies praised the speech, calling it a success. Guards patrolled, citizens watched. Managra's growing strength was clear. As dinner approached, quiet steps in the crowd raised concern. Strangers emerged. One was confronted. Her eerie transformation revealed fangs. Chaos sparked. Arakino and others acted quickly. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Velili and Fana discussed prophecies, eyeing Takuto's rising power. During the ceremonial festival, Takuto announced Dragon Tan's integration into Managra. Though the declaration stirred unease, it marked a strategic shift. The citizens observed, unsure of the darkness behind the smiles. While Takuto reflected on the speech's success, surveillance tightened. Diplomats praised the alliance. But amidst celebrations, suspicion stirred. Unknown figures breached the crowd, unfamiliar, yet not overtly hostile. Tension quietly returned. Within the Saints' Council, a grim prophecy resurfaced. Doubt split the table. Some feared Takuto, others questioned Arakino's loyalties. Yet the oracle's passage was clear. The King of Ruin would rise. Fene finally grasped Solina's motive: freedom from Qualia. Their alliance with Managra risked excommunication. Meanwhile, whispers of the King of Ruin commanding witches stirred fear in cities across the continent. Arakino boasted of her master's unmatched strength. If they fought saints, they'd win. Fen hesitated. Even Solina, confident on the surface, felt doubt creep in as stakes grew heavier. Solina declared unity against evil. A proposal formed witch and saints working together. Their goal, a nation of peace, happiness, and power. Could cooperation win against the gathering darkness ahead? Arakino embraced chaos, claiming destiny as hers to rewrite. Solina watched, uncertain. Plans to challenge a witch sparked bold declarations. If fate was unfair, they'd simply change the rules themselves. Arakino laughed. God doesn't roll dice. With her master's gift, she could forge outcomes. Victory wasn't chance, it was choice. Her power, to re-roll reality until success was absolute. A chill settled. Takuto's presence darkened the air. Solina, bloodied and breathless, stared forward. As watchers gasped, realization spread. Something had shifted, perhaps fate had already been rewritten without them. Takuto declared Dragon Tan's integration into Managra. The townspeople stood silent, unsure. As his aura spread, tension thickened, but with a deep breath he smiled, relieved. The moment passed peacefully. Laughter erupted. A disguised threat revealed herself, attacking with ease. Tentacles lashed out. Arakino mocked them. Atu, cloaked in sludge, emerged to eliminate her. The others watched, too stunned to react. Atu's tendrils lashed out, forcing silence across the stunned crowd. Arakino laughed without fear, confident in her ally's power. Thanks, she whispered, eyes narrowed. This was the first warning. The warning became reality. Shouts erupted. Enemy attack. Soldiers scrambled, eyes scanning for threats. Among them, fear flickered. Weapons raised, tension cracked. Arakino smirked, ready to act again. Tick. Tock. Time. Without hesitation, Arakino stood among saints and soldiers. Her grin widened. "Kill them!" she cried. Blades gleamed, chaos ignited. Enemies surged forward, none knowing this was just her opening move. Gia raised her rifle. "Fire!" she commanded. Bullets roared through smoke and faith. While chaos spread, one slipped away. Arakino's voice pierced the din. "Let me handle this!" Explosions burst through ice and stone. A second volley was fired, faces strained with resolve. Yet their targets stood untouched, unshaken. "They're unharmed?" Even determination wavered before the impossible. Arakino grinned wickedly. "I didn't expect guns." Saints remained still, unreadable. But now that we've done what we came for, her mission was complete, and the real game began. The Saints initiate their escape as chaos erupts. Soldiers are ordered to capture them, declaring their actions treasonous. The fleeing group breaks through the crowd, triggering confusion and mass pursuit. Amid volleys of bullets and spells, the Saints dash through the city. Attacks fail to land. Snipers and soldiers alike falter. Their resistance proves unexpectedly resilient, halting pursuit efforts. Magic and weapons continue to miss their targets. The pursuing forces grow desperate. The fleeing group maintains momentum. While their enemies' morale crumbles, the chase becomes a spectacle of failure. Atu collapses in Takuto's arms, wounded. Laughter erupts from the enemy ranks. A trap had been set, and it worked. Panic spreads, shouts rise, blades and magic quickly ignite. Shia and the others react immediately. Soldiers raise weapons, the air thickens, explosions burst. The Saints and Arakino remain calm, untouched. Gunfire rains again, yet nothing penetrates their defense. They retreat through the hall. The nation's forces scream for vengeance. Arrows fail, bullets miss. The witch laughs again. As spells fail to land, the defenders realize they've underestimated their foes. Flames roar across the battlefield. Gia recognizes the holy energy. The Saints from Qualia descend, condemning the chaos. Their authority is absolute. To them, evil must be destroyed without hesitation. As the Saints arrive, their power stuns even the prepared. Recognition spreads fast. These are not ordinary opponents. Their presence shifts the momentum. Eyes turn to the mysterious girl accompanying them. Whispers spread. A witch stands beside the Saints. Her aura rivals theirs. Together, they form a terrifying trinity, blessed and cursed. To the others, the threat now feels nearly insurmountable. Realizing the danger, the enemy declares that all three foes must be stopped. As panic spreads, whispers of Saints from Qualia deepen confusion. Some flee, others freeze in fear. Arakino mocks their shock, relishing the chaos. The opposition begins to understand their disadvantage. Questions rise, but answers don't matter. Fear builds. The power of Saints and witches is undeniable. Mortar calls out to his king, desperate. With rising tension, they plead for Ira Takuto to awaken. They need his power now to fight, to lead, to crush what threatens them. Mortar rallies their side, vowing the king will awaken. Gia and the others commit to protect him. Despite fear, loyalty binds them as they prepare to make their final stand. Arakino mocks their courage, seeing it as childish desperation. Still, their spirit shifts the mood. Even if doomed, the soldiers steel themselves. They won't run, they will resist to the end. Arakino, unfazed, gives the order to crush them swiftly. As tension breaks, civilians begin fleeing. The battlefield shifts again. Caught between hope and the cold weight of overwhelming power, the enemy forces realize the odds, facing Saints, a witch, and an awakening king. Their fear sets in, but the call to arms spreads. Awaken, King of Manogra. Manogra's soldiers swear to protect their fallen leader at all costs. Their defiance lifts morale. As enemy doubt grows, Arakino prepares to strike, declaring the time to crush evil has come. The tide turns. Atu lies unconscious. Takuto bleeds. Yet resolve remains. Gia rallies forces, declaring they won't fall to puppets. Suddenly, Takuto stirs. His eyes meet Atu's. Something awakens within them both. The monstrous foe laughed, boasting of superiority, yet, as dark tendrils erupted, Atu advanced. Her expression calm, her steps certain she had heard such arrogance before. This time she would answer. Black tendrils pierced the air, silencing the laughter. Atu's rage awakened, her gaze locked with the stunned enemy, power flooding forth. The hunter had misjudged the hunted. A reckoning began. With a scream, the enemy stumbled, realizing too late the abyss they provoked. Atu surged, merciless and resolute. No more warnings. This was judgment not for survival, but for conquest. Atu awoke, her aura crackling with defiant energy. The curse had failed. Erikino watched in awe as the darkness retreated. Victory hadn't come by chance, it was Atu's unwavering will. The army paused, confused. Erikino trembled with pride and panic. She had broken free, succeeded without fail, but her master gave no sign. Silence filled her heart where guidance once lived. Desperation took hold. Erikino screamed, begging for direction, her voice rising above the soldiers' murmurs. Her master's absence echoed louder than war. Alone she stood uncertain, afraid, and waiting for fate. Atu turned away, calm yet burdened. The king, resolute, stepped forward. His power surged not with malice, but regret. He would bear the weight and bring final judgment himself. With sorrowful eyes he invoked the spell Blooming Burial. Light consumed the enemy. His voice trembled as flames raged. Not hate, but guilt fueled his magic. The battlefield wept with him. Chaos erupted. The fire grew wild. Allies rushed, crying for the king. Erikino screamed, too late for words, too soon for loss. Hope clashed with desperation as ruin bloomed again. Smoke curled beneath the moonlit sky. The battlefield lay silent. The king was gone. Eyes searched in vain. Grief clung to the night as reality began its quiet descent. They searched ruins and ash. No body, no voice, only silence. Atu's whisper trembled. My king, the absence struck deeper than any wound. Mourning wrapped around the survivors like fog. The enemy reflected in defeat. They hadn't won, merely survived. Regret lingered. They weren't worthy of that battle. Meanwhile, mourning grew. Old hearts ached. The king's loss hollowed the land's spirit. From the ashes he returned calm, smiling. Antilise gasped, words caught in her throat. The dead had risen, not with vengeance but purpose. Their king had come back to them, eyes glowing in shadow. He confessed the pain inflicted. Yet he didn't waver. With grim clarity, he declared a future reclaimed. The king had endured, and now his work would begin. The generals knelt in failure, trembling as darkness surged. Their king, calm yet fierce, rose among burning ash. Silence reigned, save for one voice pleading forgiveness. Shadows trembled at his fury. Though rage burned within, he sat unmoved. Anger clung to him like smoke. His friend Atu was gone. The nation lay pierced. The pain was deep, but vengeance would come. His subjects awaited command. He gazed downward, absorbing the weight. We must understand our standing first, he said. Strategy over emotion. Even amidst grief, Managra's king would lead with resolve. He reflected coldly. Atu's loss wasn't mere absence, it was a threat to their structure. Unseen forces rewrote bonds. Dark elves failed, witches weakened, and still the enemy moved unseen. Beneath the moon he summoned resolve. Regretful yet unshaken, he called forth power. One order would shift their course. Eyes glowed in flame, secrets would be kept, commands issued swiftly. Whispers stirred, his survival would stay hidden. Only the trusted would know, yet despair had gripped the troops. Morale sank. As shadows flared around him, the king prepared his return. With firm command, he tasked Moltar. Secrets could wait. Trust in his voice steadied shaken hearts. Though unknowns lingered, the king's presence alone reignited purpose. Strategy slowly began to form. He considered the twins. A word with them could alter everything. Elsewhere, the streets stirred with disbelief, whispers spreading like fire. The king had moved alone, unguarded, into hostile ground. Shock spread fast. He went alone? Questions stormed their minds. Qualia enemy territory. Why? How? Answers would wait. But one truth took hold: he hadn't fallen. Their king still acted. Whispers gave way to purpose. Though shocked, the faithful obeyed. Their king left silently, trusting them to hold strong. Determined voices rose. He would prove his greatness through action, not words. He recalled each blow. Atu struck true. Holy fire seared his body. No illusions protected him. No divine aid saved him. Yet, against all reason, he survived unchanged, unrevived. Puzzled allies studied his path. Why had he lived? The mystery was deep, unsettling. Still, some found hope in the riddle. His will was unshaken, but his secrets multiplied. The twins danced with purpose. Laughter rang out as they prepared the festival. Beneath joy, they masked duty. Their king's words echoed quietly: hope must shine even when the skies darken. Their steps quickened. Work awaited. The Holy Kingdom's cathedral swelled with people. Meanwhile, the Southern Assembly stirred. Whispers of strange clergy news rippled outward. Something unseen began to rise. Selena stood behind the curtain, tension masked in smiles. Her moment neared. Encouraged, dressed in hope, she faced the anxious crowd. Peace was the goal, but truth rarely followed peace. Their operation succeeded, a two captured without resistance. Knowledge of Minagra flowed freely now. The enemy celebrated, unaware the cost of touching darkness. Heroes multiplied, unknowingly becoming pawns in something far greater. Though results were clear, uncertainty stirred. External nations, beings from other worlds to Kuto, was unlike any before. Their strategy worked, but doubt quietly echoed. Was victory too easy to trust? Above, monsters' swords summoned en masse. Some sneered, others rejoiced. Yet beneath mockery and pride, danger swelled. They underestimated what lay ahead. The King of Ruin had only just begun. With gentle words, they steadied Selena. As the crowd roared, she stepped forth, her title now real. The people waited for guidance, unaware the peace they cheered was laced with lies. She proclaimed victory over ruin. The crowd believed. Her voice echoed divine truth. Mentions of ancient oracles stirred unease. Still, belief drowned doubt. The myth was shaped before their eyes. The people saw blessings. The saintess praised divine will. But from the balcony, deception watched quietly. Words of justice cloaked ambition. Peace was a mask, and war had only shifted. With fire in her voice, she denounced qualia. Corruption, she claimed, strangled truth. The crowd watched, stunned. Their faith swayed with each word. A nation fell with a sentence. She declared freedom. Linnea would rise, divine and sovereign. God's will now had a name. The crowd erupted in cheers, blind to manipulation. Power changed hands, veiled in righteousness. The people wept in awe. A miracle, they cried. Selena's presence was salvation in their eyes. Above, a shadow moved. Their cue had come. The real play had begun. The divine nation of Linnea was born to cheers. Their leader promised peace, justice, and love. Yet behind curtains, smiles masked schemes. History turned its page, but not toward peace. Ancient warnings resurfaced. The Book of Oracles spoke of ruin merciless and inevitable. A king of calamity, of screams and steel, waited in the shadows, far from divine salvation. He is flame and frost, thunder and terror. He is always near, yet just beyond reach. No walls can hold him. The King of Ruin, closer than they dare believe. She warned them again. Dread the King of Ruin. A paradox, enemy and ally, dawn and dusk. Her smile softened the fear, but her words chilled even the sunlit winds. With a casual tone, she reassured them every step had been planned. The monsters stirred, gazer, devourers, bat-winged threats. Beneath calm instructions, war readied its next chapter in silence.